I standing in a military training lineup in September in Shanghai, and the sun was basically trying to cook me like a rotisserie chicken. 40 degrees. The asphalt was literally smoking. My brain was boiling inside my skull like a forgotten pot of noodles. Then out of nowhere, a robot voice popped into my head. Goddess development system activated. Cool, cool, totally normal. My already fried brain went full microwave mode. My eyes rolled back, and I face-planted straight onto the rubber track like a falling tree. Chaos everywhere. My roommate Wang Hao, this dude has the voice of a strangled duck, started screaming louder than everyone. "Bro, don't die? You promised to buy me lunch today. You haven't paid yet." Then he yelled for some pretty girl to come give me mouth-to-mouth. "Real helpful. Thanks, buddy." They dragged me under a tree. I was lying there wheezing, listening to Wang Hao's dramatic crying performance. And honestly, my headache got worse just from hearing him. I wanted to jump up and kick him so bad. Then my crappy secondhand phone started buzzing. Mom's voice messages came blasting through like a foghorn. "Sweetie, I sent you some money. Don't be cheap in the big city. Buy girls bubble tea. Bring me home a pretty girlfriend by winter break." Classic mom. Our family runs a little restaurant back in our small town. Doing okay, not rich. I figured she sent me maybe 3 or 5,000 yuan tops. I opened my bank notification. 100 million yuan. My hands started shaking like I was holding a live fish. I thought Mom didn't just rob a bank. She probably kidnapped the bank manager too. All those zeros made me dizzy. Wang Hao shoved his big face into mine. "You okay, bro?" I slammed my screen off so fast I almost broke my thumb. "I think I need to lie down in the nurse's office," I said, trying to sound weak and pitiful. So I'm lying in the medical room, staring at the ceiling, and after 10 minutes, I finally figured it out. Mom didn't rob anyone. That system thing in my head actually deposited 100 million into my account. For real. And here's the beautiful part. No stupid strings attached. No, spend it all on women or die. Nonsense. No, buy 10 luxury bags for strangers every day or we delete you. Punishment. This money was mine. I could buy 100,000 meat buns and feed them to stray dogs if I wanted. The system wouldn't even blink. I was lying there grinning like an idiot when this ice-cold voice floated over from the foot of the bed. "Faking heat stroke to skip training will cost you credit points." I turned my head. And even with my half-cooked brain, my breathing just stopped. Standing there in an oversized white coat was Mu Chang'e, the legendary ice queen of the finance department. Ponytail, neck like a swan, curves that even a lab coat couldn't hide. Every guy in school had a crush on her. She was basically the final boss of the campus beauty rankings. Word was her family was broke and she had a younger sister in high school, so she was always running between part-time jobs, even cleaning the cafeteria. But somehow she still looked like she'd walked out of a magazine. The worse her situation was, the more untouchable she seemed, and the more every guy wanted to be the one to crack that armor. Yesterday, I would have been too scared to even look at her directly. Just another broke college freshman with zero confidence. But today, I had 100 million yuan sitting in my bank account like a nuclear-powered confidence generator. Money really is liquid courage for men. Facts. "Senior," I said casually. "This is real heat stroke. Feel my forehead if you don't believe me." She wasn't buying it. Checked my vitals, said everything was normal, and threatened to call my class advisor. The moment she said, "advisor," my brain auto-loaded the image from orientation day, MS. Su Man, with her gold-rimmed glasses, that white blouse fighting for its life against the buttons, and a black pencil skirt that made the entire freshman class afraid to blink. She was like a strict queen who accidentally got a supermodel's body. Then the system pinged again. It scanned Mu Chang'e and rated her SSS tier. Fatal weakness. Financial defense line on the verge of collapse. Basically, she was one rent payment away from a meltdown. The system was practically handing me a cheat sheet. But I didn't rush. Some novel protagonists would see a reward like this and immediately start drooling and chasing girls like desperate puppies. Not me. I had 100 million with zero restrictions. I didn't need to beg anyone for anything. When you start throwing that kind of money around naturally, people come to you. I also thought about my ex-girlfriend Gu Xingyue, who dumped me on graduation night saying I couldn't give her a future. Heard her twin sister enrolled at my school too. Imagine the look on her face when she finds out. Actually, no. Revenge on an ex? Too tacky. Too exhausting. I just wanted to lie flat and enjoy all the fancy stuff I could never even dream about before. But living the ultimate lazy life requires someone to handle the boring stuff. I'm worth 100 million now. I can't be standing in the cafeteria line holding a plastic tray like a peasant, right? And right in front of me was a girl who desperately needed money, was super responsible, and already had experience juggling 10 jobs at once. Perfect candidate. I leaned back on the bed, cool as a cucumber, and said, "Hey, senior, I heard you work a bunch of part-time jobs." She froze for half a second. "What's it to you? Nothing. Just think those jobs pay you way too little for the effort. How about you quit all of them and sign an exclusive contract with me instead?" Her eyebrow twitched. "What do you mean?" "Be my personal life assistant. Run errands, grab food, tidy up my place. Basically handle all the annoying daily stuff so I don't have to." I spun my phone in my hand like it was no big deal and dropped my offer, room and board included. 10,000 a month. Bonuses for good performance. Everyone always says college life is great. Time to find out if that's actually true. So the Ice Queen shot me down. Shocking? Not even a little bit. Go hire a housekeeper from an agency. The nurse's office doesn't offer that service. And she just turned around and walked out, her white coat swishing behind her like a dramatic exit in a movie, leaving nothing but a faint trail of orange-scented perfume. I watched her go and thought, yeah, if 10,000 a month could crack open an ice mountain, she wouldn't deserve that SSS rating. I called after her. "Senior, I'll hold the position open for you for a week." Her steps stuttered for half a beat. Then she slammed the door shut. Beautiful. What I didn't know was that on the other side of that door, she stopped in the hallway and checked her bank balance. 312 yuan. Her student loan wouldn't hit until the 10th. Cafeteria pay comes at the end of the month. Her little sister's tutoring fees were still short. She stared at that number, then killed the screen, burying my ridiculous offer in the darkness along with it. Meanwhile, I was checking my phone. Dad had finally texted. "See, my old man always messages after Mom because he has to make sure she's not peeking over his shoulder first." His voice message came through quieter than a mosquito with a sore throat. "Son, did your mom send you money? Can you lend Dad 500? 2 seconds of silence. "Your mother has imposed economic sanctions on me. She confiscated my fishing rod. I haven't been to the reservoir in 3 days. My hands are itching." I almost choked. My dad has exactly 2 hobbies in life: fishing and getting chased by Mom with a rolling pin. And these 2 hobbies usually happen at the same time. Every time he sneaks home with a new fishing rod, Mom chases him down 3 streets screaming that the fish he catches cost less than the rod he bought. I texted back, "Dad, 500's too little. I'll send 2,000. Buy something nice. Stop coming home empty-handed." The second that transfer notification hit, Dad's voice message came exploding back, volume cranked to 11. 2,000? You gave me all your girl-chasing money. What are you gonna do, Dad? With a face like mine, you think I need money to get girls? I wanted to send him way more, honestly. But if I wired a few million home right now, Mom would be on the next bullet train to Shanghai, tearing through my closet and interrogating me about whether I joined a pyramid scheme. Gotta play it slow. I was about to take another nap when the door burst open again. But instead of orange perfume, what hit me first was the unmistakable, heavy, saucy aroma of braised chicken rice. The smell arrived a full 3 seconds before Wang Hao did. "Chicken soup delivery." He came barreling in with 2 takeout bags, his face sunburned so dark it was practically glowing red, but grinning ear to ear. I checked the receipt. 2 large braised chicken combos with extra sausage and tofu skin. 46 yuan total. Doesn't sound like much, but this guy's entire monthly budget is barely over 1,000. He just blew 5% of his monthly income on lunch for us. That's a real one right there. Annoying, but real. We sat on the edge of the hospital bed eating. Wang Hao complained about the drill sergeant being a psycho between bites, then inevitably steered the conversation to his favorite topic. "Oh hey, Wanxing walked past the training field today. His chopsticks froze mid-air, and his eyes went full sparkle mode. She had a low ponytail and a white t-shirt. She looked amazing. Like, walking in slow motion amazing. And then she walked right past without looking at me even once." His voice went from mountaintop to ocean floor faster than a bungee jump. Turns out this girl was a senior from his high school who came back to give a recruitment talk, and he literally chose this university because of her. "How long have you been chasing her?" I asked. Technically, I haven't started. I've just been silently following her social media for 2 years. I looked at his big, dark, hopeful face and recognized the symptoms immediately. This man had stage 1 simp disease. I put down my chopsticks and pulled out my phone. What's your payment app ID? Consider this payback for carrying me to the nurse's office. He mumbled out his number through a mouthful of rice, probably expecting me to Venmo him his half of lunch, $23. His phone buzzed. He looked down. The piece of chicken on his chopsticks hung in midair for a solid 3 seconds. 10,000 yuan. He closed the app, opened it again. The number was still there. Logged out. Logged back in. Still there. For a guy who lives on 1,000 yuan a month, this was like finding half an alien finger in your cafeteria cabbage. What the F? Wang Hao made a sound that no human being should be physically capable of producing. His voice shot from baritone straight to dolphin frequency. His chopsticks hit the floor, and he didn't even notice. He was clutching his phone with both hands, eyes practically popping out of his skull like a cartoon character. Sumu, where did you get 10,000 yuan? You didn't have heat stroke. You robbed a bank and came to the nurse's office to hide from the cops, didn't you? I shoved his face down. Can you please keep it down? The entire building can hear you. He went red and switched to a whisper, but somehow the whisper was even creepier. Did a rich lady adopt you? Did you sell yourself? Whatever you did, take me with you. My family's land got demolished for development, I said without even blinking. Wang Hao froze, then slapped his thigh like he'd just solved a murder case. That's IT. Your county is doing that new district thing, right? I saw a news article. Whole villages getting torn down, each family getting millions. Honestly, I didn't even know if that was true. But then he went. No wonder your mom sent so much. Look at your cracked phone case. You're obviously still not used to being rich. This guy should be writing screenplays. His ability to build an airtight plot out of thin air was genuinely world-class. Then he got serious for a second. Bro, this is your money. I shouldn't take any of it. But Wanqing just posted that she wants the newest iPhone. I looked at him. Greedy but not selfish. Got excited about the money, but immediately thought about keeping my secret safe. Solid dude at his core. But it's always the solid guys who end up on the backup boyfriend list. You carried me here and bought me lunch out of your own pocket. That makes you my friend. The money's yours. But I have one condition. He sat up straight. Name it. I'll call you daddy if you want. Don't be a simp. I said it quietly, but I was dead serious. You can use this money to buy her a phone, or you can use it to upgrade yourself. Your choice. He stared at me for a few seconds, then slowly nodded. I'll remember that. And I'm paying you back. I didn't push it further. But from what I'd seen on the campus forums, the 4 campus beauties were all next-level complicated. Zhang Wanqing especially, student council VP with the most colorful reputation of the bunch. Wang Hao was playing way above his league. But that's his battle, not mine. We walked out of the nurse's office into the blazing hallway and ran straight into our class beauty, Lin Jiyue. She'd already been unanimously crowned class goddess by every guy in our dorm on day 1. When someone sneaked a photo of her looking adorably lost at orientation and posted it online. Right now, she was wearing a full face of makeup that somehow survived military training in 40-degree heat without a single smudge. I'm pretty sure that level of waterproofing deserves a patent. She walked past, gave me a polite little smile, but I caught her eyes pause on my cracked phone screen for half a second before she looked away. She and her 2 friends kept chatting. Did you hear? Some guy drove an Audi A6 to military training. Parked it right by the field. Apparently, he's kinda cute too. They giggled off into the distance. Wang Hao whispered, That's Zhao Zishuan from the class next door. Every guy already knows. I shrugged. A6, A7, who cares? It's just a car. I'd just gotten my driver's license over summer break. Barely passed the parking test. But the license was in my pocket and 100 million was in my account. I couldn't exactly keep cruising around campus on a shared bicycle like some kind of eco-warrior. I slapped Wang Hao on the shoulder. Cover for me at afternoon training. Tell the sergeant I need rest for my heat stroke. I've got errands to run. Say no more. I got you. 30 minutes later, I was standing in front of a Porsche dealership 3 subway stops from campus. The showroom floor gleamed behind floor-to-ceiling glass. A few female sales reps in fitted dark suits stood by the entrance. One tall one was scrolling her phone. And there I was, camo training t-shirt, basketball shorts, 80 yuan mesh sneakers. looking like I'd wandered in from a construction site. But you know what? When you've got 100 million in the bank, even if these shoes only cost 40, you walk into a Porsche dealership like you own the place. Meanwhile, back at the university cafeteria kitchen, Muchanga was wearing an apron, slicing potatoes faster than the actual cafeteria ladies. Her phone buzzed, a message from her little sister. Sis, Auntie came over again today. She and Mom got into another fight. I walked into that Porsche dealership like I owned the place. Which, technically, I was about to. Picture this. Camo training shirt, basketball shorts, 80 yuan sneakers squeaking on marble floors like a duck having a seizure. The air conditioning hit me like a wall of heaven. Behind me, a bunch of female salespeople in tight skirts were chatting about their designer bags. They took one look at me, and I could practically hear their brains go. Ah, another college kid here to take selfies for TikTok. One of them, this woman with eyeliner thick enough to qualify as a mask, nudged the girl standing in the corner. Little Han, go deal with him. Probably just wants to sit in the AC. Don't let him test drive anything. The girl who got shoved my way was named Han Shuyao. She came clicking over in 7-centimeter heels, wearing the standard issue tight pencil skirt and black stockings combo. Her legs were absolutely ridiculous. I stared for exactly 1 second and thought, those legs are wasted not pedaling a delivery tricycle. She had the most aggressively professional smile plastered on her face, but her dark circles were so deep they looked like she'd been punched by insomnia itself. This woman was one bad sales quarter away from being a corpse. Turns out she was this month's worst performing intern. If she didn't close a deal soon, she'd be cleaning out her desk tomorrow. So even though she was 99% sure I was here to waste her time, she had to treat me like I was the Sultan of Brunei. Good afternoon, sir. What model are you interested in? She handed me a catalog the size of a phone book. The system pinged in my head, rated her a 92 in looks, 95 in figure. Very impressive stats. But I'd already ignored a 96 rated Ice Queen this morning. You think some stockings are going to make me drool? Please. I didn't take the catalog. I didn't even glance at the normal cars. I just scanned the entire showroom, walked straight to the center stage, and stopped in front of the star of the show, a jet black, fully loaded Panamera. It was sitting under spotlights like a throne, practically radiating the smell of money. This one's in stock, right? I pointed at it the way you'd point at a cabbage at the market. Han Shuyao scrambled to flip through her binder. Excellent taste, sir. This is the top-spec executive extended version with a 4-liter twin-turbo engine, premium leather interior, 21-inch sport wheels. Stop, stop, stop. I waved my hand. I was buying a car, not taking a mechanic's licensing exam. I pointed at the black Panamera. Then I turned and pointed at a red 911 on the next platform. I'm asking one simple question. Are these two in stock? If yes, how much for both? Give me a number. The showroom went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop on that marble floor. Over by the tea station, the senior saleswoman, Big Cicely, actually snorted out loud and had to slap her hand over her mouth. The other salespeople were whispering and looking around for hidden cameras, convinced someone was filming a prank video. I didn't care about any of them. I reached into my camo pants pocket, pulled out my old postal savings card, edges worn, paint chipping off, the same card my parents opened for me as a kid to save New Year's money. Now loaded with a casual 100 million. I slapped it down on the black hood of the Panamera. Clack. Swipe it. Now. Move fast with the paperwork. I've got to get back to school. Han Shuyao stared at that beat-up card like she was watching someone sleepwalk. Then she took off running toward the finance office in her heels, clicking across the floor like a panicked woodpecker. 30 seconds later, the POS machine beeped. The receipt rolled out. 5,400,000 yuan. Full payment. Transaction complete. Han Shuyao looked at that number, and her knees almost gave out. She nearly collapsed right there on the finance office carpet. Big Sis Lee was mid-sip of warm water when she heard the finance manager's excited announcement. She spit that water directly onto her colleague's freshly done makeup like a human sprinkler. Then she stood there frozen, staring at the finance room like she'd seen a ghost at noon. Every single salesperson who'd been laughing at me was now doing frantic mental math. The commission on 2 cars like that? Enough for a down payment on an apartment in Shanghai. Money that just fell from the sky. And it landed on the intern they'd thrown me to like scraps. Big Sis Lee materialized next to me faster than a teleporting cockroach, foundation cracking from the force of her smile. Sir, You're so generous. That little Han is just a new intern. She doesn't even have clearance for a deal this big. What if there's a contract mistake? I'm the top salesperson here. Let me take you to our private VIP lounge for the signing. We have very exclusive services for premium clients like you, she said. Exclusive services, like she was reading a room service menu at 2 a.m. I didn't even look at her. I turned to the sales manager who just rushed over in his suit. If these two cars end up under anyone else's name, I'm walking across the street to Ferrari. The manager was a smart man. He spun around on Big Sicily. If I catch you poaching deals again, don't bother coming in tomorrow. She slunk away looking like she'd been slapped with a wet fish. Han Shuyao's eyes were red as cherries. She led me to the VIP room and nearly tripped on a step. While I signed paperwork, she knelt on the side of the big leather sofa, leaning in at such an angle that, well, let's just say being rich gives you access to certain scenic views that regular folks don't get to enjoy. When we finished, she pulled out her personal phone. Can I add you on WeChat? If you ever need anything, car stuff, or anything else, just message me. 24 hours. I'll come running. The system chimed happily in my head. Han Shuyao development progress. 10%. Stage reward issued. Congratulations. You've received a top-floor luxury duplex at Thompson Riviera. Property documents and key cards have been placed in the Panamera's glove compartment. Bonus reward. Driving mastery. I raised an eyebrow. Wait, that counted? I barely did anything. This system was handing out prizes more generously than a rigged carnival game. An hour later, everything was done. The red 911 got loaded onto a flatbed headed to a lot near campus. I slid into the Panamera's driver's seat, soft leather hugging me like a cloud, and the driving mastery skill flowed into my muscles like instant memory. I went from, almost failed the parking test, to veteran taxi driver with 30 years experience in about 2 seconds. I stomped the gas. The engine roared like an angry dragon. The car shot into traffic like an arrow, leaving behind a cluster of senior saleswomen standing in the blazing sun, grinding their teeth so hard you could hear it over the traffic. Meanwhile, back at the university's second cafeteria, Mu Changa was standing at a greasy sink in her oversized work uniform, scrubbing a mountain of dishes with hands rubbed raw and white. Her sister had texted about their vampire aunt showing up again, stealing chickens this time, actual chickens, and there was an expensive school trip coming up that her sister needed money for. Changa kept thinking about how her classmates made easy money doing modeling gigs or live streaming, but every time she saw those sleazy messages, she felt sick. Lost in thought, a plate slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. The supervising cafeteria lady stomped over and docked 50 yuan from her daily pay on the spot. Break one more thing and you're fired. Changa knelt down and carefully picked up the sharp pieces with her bare fingers. 50 yuan, less than her roommate's afternoon coffee. But for her, it was salt on an open wound. And in the back of her mind, her roommate's suggestion from last time started echoing again. I rolled back onto campus in my brand new black Panamera, one hand on the wheel like I'd been driving luxury cars my whole life, instead of almost failing my parking test 2 months ago. The engine growled through the quiet evening campus like a lion walking into a library. Girls were sticking to the side of this car like flies to honey. One was secretly taking photos. Another senior in a mini-skirt literally stopped and pretended to tie her shoe just to stare longer. I didn't care about any of that. I was hungry. That half portion of braised chicken from lunch had burned off approximately 7 hours ago, and the restaurants near campus were all that weird Shanghai sweet flavor I hadn't gotten used to yet. So naturally, the proud owner of a 5 million yuan Porsche walked into the campus convenience store and grabbed a cup of instant noodles and 2 sausage sticks. Total cost, maybe 8 yuan. I parked the Panamera right below the dorm building, grabbed my plastic bag of noodles, and strolled up 5 flights of stairs to room 502. Wang Hao was sitting on his bunk shirtless, looking like a sad sunburned potato. The second he saw my plastic bag, his eyes went red and he lunged at me like I was a wounded soldier returning from war. Sumu, did you give me all your family's money? Is that why you're eating this? I'm transferring everything back right now. He was already fumbling for his phone. I looked at him like he'd grown a second head. Is your brain filled with ocean water? I just didn't want sweet food. Are you seriously telling me instant noodles aren't delicious? Stop being dramatic and go get me hot water. He stared at me suspiciously for a solid 10 seconds, decided I wasn't faking being poor, and trotted off down the hallway with the red thermos like an obedient golden retriever. That's when screaming erupted from the balcony. Lu Chong, our roommate who'd earned the nickname Campus Wikipedia within 3 days of enrollment, was hanging half his body over the railing, pointing at my car downstairs, absolutely losing his mind. Brothers, get over here. There's a mega-rich kid hiding at our school. That's a fully loaded Panamera Executive Edition. Look at that paint. Look at it. Chinemo, our quiet coder roommate who basically lives on the top bunk like a nesting owl, actually stopped typing, climbed down, pushed up his thick glasses, and peeked over the railing. Looks expensive. Wonder if it's a student's or a professor's. Lu Chong immediately shifted into expert mode. He started rubbing his hands together like a car show host on caffeine. Expensive? Expensive? Bro, you see those 21-inch sport wheels? That's tens of thousands extra just for those. The interior is definitely full leather. I can see red stitching from here. Fully loaded, this thing is over 3 million easy. That's a down payment on an apartment in Shanghai. I walked onto the balcony with my steaming cup of noodles. Blew on them. Slurped up a big mouthful of spicy, sour goodness. Then I casually glanced down at my own car. It's alright, I guess. The driver's seat has a lot of blind spots, actually. This was 100% my honest review from driving it back. Totally genuine criticism. Room 502 went completely silent. Lu Chong turned around and looked at me, standing there in my camo shirt, holding a cup of instant noodles, with the kind of pity you'd give a stray kitten. Bro, please, stop. You're eating cup noodles. What do you know about Porsches? My cousin's friend has a 718. Someday I'll borrow it and take you guys for a ride. Wang Hao was standing behind him holding the thermos, mouth half open, looking like he was about to explode. He knew the truth. He knew I'd tossed him 10 grand without blinking. But if he told Lu Chong, the biggest gossip in our entire class, by tomorrow morning, even the stray dogs on campus would know I was loaded. So Wang Hao just stood there, face turning purple from holding it in, and finally squeezed out the most useless defense in history. It's probably some professor's car. And anyway, Lu Chong, all you do is browse car websites. Maybe Sumu's right. Sports cars sit low. They're probably not even comfortable. I shrugged and went back to slurping my noodles. Red chili oil dripped onto the plastic spoon. I thought about how I could just pull the car key out of my pocket right now and click the button. The headlights would flash, and Lu Chong would probably spend the rest of the night clinging to my legs singing love songs on the balcony. But I'm not into that. I don't swing that way, and I especially don't swing that way for roommates. Lu Chong, convinced he'd won the great Porsche debate of room 502, grabbed his phone and opened the campus forum. It had already exploded. The #1 trending post had 3 exclamation marks. $1 million supercar spotted outside the boys' dorm. Multiple angles, HD photos, hundreds of comments. Everyone trying to guess which ultra-rich prince was hiding among them. Meanwhile, across campus in the girls' dorm, our class beauty Lin Jue was lying on her bed wearing a silk camisole, face covered in some expensive Japanese face mask, casually scrolling through the same viral post. She zoomed in on the Panamera photo and studied it carefully. This morning, she'd watched Zhao Zixuan from the next class roll up in his Audi A6 trying to show off, and he'd even tried to get her WeChat through her roommate. She mentally scoffed. An A6 was fine, sure, but she'd rather ride in that Panamera. If she could sit in that passenger seat, she'd happily never eat in the cafeteria again for 4 years. And in the old dorm building, Mu Changa was sitting alone on her bottom bunk. All her roommates had done their makeup and gone out on dates. The room was dead quiet except for cicadas outside. Her phone screen showed her bank balance. 300-something yuan. Enough for herself if she starved a little, but her family needed money too. She closed her eyes, swallowed the storm inside her, exited the bank app. Then, with trembling fingers, she opened that app her roommate had sent her, the one advertising high-paying part-time work. She scrolled through the listings. Every single one was dripping with sleazy implications. Companion services, entertainment, gigs. The kind of jobs written in code words that everyone understood. Her tears finally broke free and fell onto her scratched-up phone screen. I slurped up the last drop of my instant noodles, even the soggy cabbage bits at the bottom, because I'm a man of principle and no noodle gets left behind. But seriously, I had 100 million yuan in the bank, and I was lying on a wooden plank bed in a college dorm that smelled like feet and regret. This was a crime against capitalism. Time to go check out that luxury apartment. The system dropped in my glove compartment. I leaned over Lu Chang's shoulder. This man was practically making out with his phone screen, zooming in on photos of my car on the campus forum. Yo, Lu Chang, you're literally drooling on your phone. It's just a black Porsche. Come on, get dressed. Come out with me tonight. I need a local guide to show me around Shanghai. Consider yourself hired. He didn't even look up. Go where? A bunch of dudes walking around at midnight? Shanghai is for rich people, bro. We're not rich. If you want a tour guide, download one of those companion apps. Those girls will call you Big Brother all night for a couple $100. Long legs, sweet voices, the whole package. I rubbed my chin. You know what? Broken clock, right twice a day. Lu Chang occasionally had a point. Which app? I pulled out my cracked phone, downloaded some black and pink companion app, and went straight past all the budget options like I was speed scrolling past ads. I didn't even glance at the discount section. I locked onto the top-tier package at the very top of the page. Ultimate Girlfriend Blind Box Experience. 888 yuan per hour, 4 hours. Full booking. 3,552 yuan total. For a guy sitting on 100 million. This was like finding a coin between couch cushions and deciding to spend it. I just really needed to experience what it felt like to live like a rich person tonight. Call it emotional therapy. Now here's where fate decided to get dramatic. Across campus in the old girls' dorm, Mu Changa was sitting alone on her hard wooden bed, calculating next week's expenses with a pen that was running out of ink. Her roommates had all dolled up and gone on dates. The room was empty except for cicada noise. Then her phone lit up. A premium order notification. She checked the amount. After the platform's cut, the 4-hour gig would cover exactly what her little sister needed for that Shanghai study trip next month. She opened the details. Couple roleplay experience. She'd never even had a boyfriend. She bit her lip, closed her eyes, and hit accept. Then she went full secret agent mode. She pulled out the baggiest gray coat she owned and buried every curve under enough fabric to upholster a couch. Baseball cap. Medical mask covering most of her face. She checked herself in the hallway mirror. Good. She looked like either a celebrity avoiding paparazzi or someone about to commit a minor crime. She shoved a can of pepper spray into her pocket and prayed she wouldn't end up sitting across from some sweaty, grabby middle-aged creep. She looked down at her disguise and thought, I look like I'm sneaking out to have an affair. And because the universe has a personal grudge against this girl, the sky immediately opened up and dumped a biblical rainstorm on her the second she stepped outside. She ended up standing under the glowing sign of an adult toy shop, the only lit awning on the street, getting absolutely drenched. Cold rain plastered her skirt to her ankles. The humiliation was soaking into her bones along with the water. That's when a white Audi A6 came cruising down the street. Zhao Zishuan, the same show-off who'd parked his car by the training field that morning, was behind the wheel, smoking a cigarette, prowling for girls caught in the rain like some kind of discount predator. His headlights swept over Changa. He slammed the brakes. Even through the mask and hat, he recognized those eyes. That neck. That unmistakable silhouette. He'd memorized every campus beauty forum post. This was the Ice Queen herself. He rolled down his window with his best, I'm God's gift to women, smile. Hey, gorgeous, no umbrella? Want a ride? No. I'm waiting for someone. She turned her back on him. Just gave him the back of her head. Cold as a freezer door. His smile crumbled. But then he'd caught a glimpse of her phone screen. A companion app timer was running. He connected the dots instantly, and his expression turned ugly. He got out of the car with an umbrella and walked right up to her. Mu Changa, drop the act. I saw your screen. You're out here taking paid bookings in the middle of the night, and you want to pretend you're above it all? Whatever he's paying, I'll double it. Triple. At least I'm young and decent looking. Or would you rather go sit with some fat sweaty uncle? Is my Audi not good enough for your premium services? Changa froze. This was her nightmare. Getting recognized by a classmate. Her hand squeezed the pepper spray so hard her knuckles went white. You have the wrong person. Come one step closer, and I'm calling the police. Police? He laughed. You're the one selling yourself, and you're going to call the cops? I'll post your whole side hustle on the school forum tomorrow. Let everyone see what the famous Ice Queen really does at night. And that's when yours truly made his entrance. My Panamera came screaming through the rain like a black missile, engine roaring loud enough to wake up every fish in the Huangpu River. I hit the brakes and slid to a perfect stop half a meter in front of them. My fat sport wheels plowed through a puddle and sent a tsunami of muddy water directly into Zhao Zishuan's face. I'm talking full coverage. Chest, neck, mouth. The man literally ate dirty puddle water mid-sentence. His brain short-circuited. He was about to start cursing, but then he looked up and saw the Porsche badge. His mouth closed so fast I heard his teeth click. His precious Audi A6, parked behind him, suddenly looked like a shopping cart next to a spaceship. I lowered my window halfway. I didn't even glance at the dripping, mud-faced loser. I was wearing sunglasses, at night, in the rain, completely useless, but looking absolutely spectacular. One hand draped on the steering wheel. I turned to Changa, standing frozen under that ridiculous adult shop sign, and said two things. Order number 1739. Get in. She blinked once, realized I was her client, and practically dove into the passenger seat. I hit the gas. The exhaust note thundered through the rain. The car blasted through another massive puddle. Sorry, not sorry. And we disappeared into the night, leaving Zhao Zishuan standing in the downpour, covered in mud, watching my taillights shrink into nothing. I bet he was rethinking every life choice that led him to this moment. Inside the car, the heater was blowing warm air. The thick doors sealed out the storm completely. It was so quiet we could hear each other breathe. Changa was staring at my profile, probably thinking I looked familiar but unable to connect, mysterious Porsche millionaire, with heatstroke kid from the nurse's office. I drove 1 block, then casually pulled off my completely pointless sunglasses and tossed them on the dashboard. I turned to her, this girl wrapped up in 17 layers of disguise like a human burrito, and flashed my biggest, dumbest grin. Hey, we meet again, senior. I flashed my biggest grin at the passenger seat. Hey, we meet again, senior. Changa's brain blue-screened for a solid 3 seconds. Then it hit her. I was the same kid she'd coldly dismissed from the nurse's office that morning. The same guy she'd lectured about faking heat stroke. The same nobody she told to go hire a housekeeper from an agency. Her entire face turned the color of a tomato, from her neck all the way up to her earlobes. Just pure, volcanic embarrassment. If this Porsche had a trapdoor, she would have dropped straight into the sewer and never come back. Her first panic thought was that her secret companion app side hustle was officially blown. This girl who'd built an entire reputation as the untouchable ice queen, rejecting flowers from rich kids without even blinking, was now sitting in a junior's Porsche at midnight wearing a disguise that screamed, I'm definitely up to something. So she did what any rational person would do. She started clawing at the door handle like a trapped cat, demanding I pull over. On a highway, in a thunderstorm, at midnight, I slammed the central lock. Click. Lady, have you been watching too many Korean dramas? We're on an elevated highway in pouring rain. You want to jump out? What? You think your life is so bad you want to hit the reset button and try again as a richer person next time? I paid $3,000 for a nice evening, not to scrape someone off the pavement. She kept struggling. In the process, her big gray coat slipped halfway off, revealing a white shirt completely soaked through by the rain. The fabric was basically transparent, vacuum-sealed to her skin, showing off curves that absolutely justified the system's 96-point rating. The seatbelt was cutting across her chest like it was fighting for its life. That poor strip of fabric was under engineering stress it was never designed for. I glanced over for exactly 1 second. Okay, system, I take it back. The score was fair. She caught me looking, yanked her coat back up, and her voice cracked. Sumu, stop the CR. I'll refund everything. All 3,000, every cent. Just let me out. I didn't even flinch. I casually pulled out my phone, opened the companion app, scrolled to the rules page, and started reading out loud like a bored teacher during morning announcements. If the service provider cancels unilaterally after the order is confirmed, they must pay the client 3 times the total order value as a penalty fee. I looked at her. 3,005 times 3. That's 10,500 yuan. Can you afford that, senior? She stopped moving completely. Like someone hit the pause button. 10,500. She had 312 yuan in her bank account. That penalty wasn't a fine, it was a death sentence. The car went silent. Just the windshield wipers going back and forth, back and forth. Chunga sat there biting her lip. eyes burning red. I kept my eyes on the road. Look, I wasn't actually going to make her pay. I just needed her to stop trying to yeet herself off a highway bridge. A little scare was necessary for her own survival. After 30 seconds of silence, she spoke. Her voice was raw. If you tell anyone at school about tonight, tell who? I cut her off, tapping the steering wheel. I'm a freshman. You think I'm going to run around telling people I paid $3,500 to hire one of the 4 campus beauties as my temporary girlfriend? You'd be embarrassed, sure, but I'd look even worse. I've got a long, beautiful, rich life ahead of me. I'm not about to hang myself from one tree this early. She had absolutely no comeback for that. She realized, with painful clarity, that my scumbag logic was mathematically flawless. Why would a rich kid burn his own reputation just to destroy hers? Only an idiot does something that hurts himself as much as the other person. Just do the 4 hours normally. I literally just want someone to chat with while I check out this apartment. When time's up, this whole night gets buried in the leather seats of this Porsche. Never happened. Another long silence. Just wipers. Just her heavy, controlled breathing. Then she nodded. Barely. The smallest, most humiliated nod in human history. 30 minutes later, I pulled into the underground garage at Thompson Riviera, the most expensive residential building in Shanghai. Chang'e looked out the window, and her pupils basically doubled in size. Maybachs, Bentleys, Ferraris, and some red things so exotic she didn't even know the brand, all lined up in numbered VIP spots. We took the private elevator to the top floor. The doors opened, and I swear her legs almost gave out. Floor-to-ceiling panoramic windows. The entire Bund skyline glittering across the Huangpu River. And under our feet, a wool carpet that probably cost more than every possession she'd ever owned combined. I walked straight to the kitchen and checked the fridge. Empty. Come on, system. You give me a multi-million-dollar penthouse, but can't stock a single bag of chips? Not that intelligent after all. Stop standing in the doorway like a mannequin. Come in. She tiptoed inside like she was walking on sacred ground, terrified her wet shoes might stain the carpet. Then the cold air hit her. She peeled off the soaked coat and was left in that see-through white shirt under the crystal chandelier's bright lights. The fabric had gone basically translucent. Everything from her collarbones to her waist was on full display. I could even see the outline of something pink underneath. The system's review of ice skin, jade bones, blindingly white, was not an exaggeration. I looked at her for about half a second, then looked away. I grabbed a brand new towel from the closet and tossed it at her. Go take a hot shower. If you catch a cold and try to blame me, I'm not paying for that. I refused to be scammed. She practically sprinted into the bathroom. I heard the door slam and the lock click about 14 times. Meanwhile, I sat on the couch yawning. This bathroom, by the way, bigger than her entire house back home. 3 fancy shower heads she'd never seen before. French skincare products with the seals still on. The works. She was in there for 40 minutes. 40. I started wondering if she'd escaped through a window or dissolved down the drain. Then the bathroom door cracked open about 2 inches. A single wet eyeball peeked out. Su Mu. Her voice was quieter than a sleeping mosquito. All my clothes are soaked. I can't wear any of them. Can you find me something? I got up, grabbed a brand new men's dress shirt from the closet, only thing available, and shoved it through the crack in the door. This is all there is. Make it work. I rolled my eyes so hard internally, I nearly detached a retina. Pretty face, sure, but who takes 40 minutes to shower? I offered her a towel earlier. Did she think I was going to unwrap her and eat her? While she was hiding, I called a luxury boutique, rattled off the address, and told them to bring a full women's outfit. Figure out the size yourselves. 30 minutes. Go. 5 minutes later, Chang'e emerged. That men's shirt barely reached mid-thigh on her. The chest area was under so much structural pressure that the buttons deserved a Medal of Honor. Every breath she took was a physics experiment. 2 impossibly long, snow-white legs swung back and forth below the shirt hem. The system said, ice skin, blindingly white, and I was starting to think it was being conservative. I glanced over. Those buttons were experiencing stress levels they were never engineered to handle. The atmosphere was getting interesting. The air in the room was starting to shift toward dangerous territory. Then the doorbell rang. Saved by luxury fashion. 2 boutique ladies in tailored black suits stood at the door, holding 6 gold-embossed shopping bags. They handed me a handwritten inventory list with a little bow. I signed without reading it. Chang'e was sitting at the dining table, and she couldn't help peeking at those bags. The price tag peeking out of the top bag read, 68,000. I watched her count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Her hands started trembling. She did some mental math. One coat was 68,000 times 6 bags. And then she visibly chose to stop calculating before her brain crashed. I dropped the bags on the table in front of her. Go change. You can't walk back to campus wearing my shirt. The school forum would literally catch fire. She stared at the bags, lips shaking. These are too expensive. I was already melting back into the sofa. Didn't even look up. If you keep dawdling, you should start worrying about whether you'll be able to walk back to school tomorrow at all. Changa finally shuffled out of the bedroom wearing the new outfit. A cream-colored trench coat, silk blouse underneath, and little leather boots from a brand she couldn't even pronounce. The transformation was insane. She went from girl who washes dishes in a cafeteria to CEO who fires people before breakfast. The system's 98-point face score and 96-point body score? Absolutely legit. This woman had been sealed inside cheap clothes like a dragon trapped in a cardboard box. Remove the seal, and she was an absolute weapon. Well, I said from the couch, at least now you don't look like you're sneaking out for a secret affair. The thank you she'd been preparing died in her throat. You're welcome. She stood awkwardly in the living room and snuck a peek at her companion app timer. Of the 4 hours I'd paid for, 3 were already gone. 1 hour was spent stuck in traffic on the highway in a thunderstorm. An hour and a half was her showering and blow-drying her hair. And the remaining 30 minutes went to figuring out how to put on clothes that cost more than her annual income. She hadn't done a single second of actual companion work. She hadn't even made small talk. She'd basically shown up, used my imported French shampoo, put on a designer fashion show for nobody, and called it a shift. The guilt hit her like a truck. She felt like a scam artist who accidentally conned someone without even trying. She stared at the floor and forced out words like she was defusing a bomb. Tomorrow morning, I can show you around Shanghai. To make up for tonight. Free of charge. I was planning to go shopping alone tomorrow anyway, but a free tour guide, and an SSS-rated one at that, falling into my lap? Only a fool says no. Sure. 10 a.m. sharp. She relaxed for exactly 1 second before tensing up again. But I have a condition. Nobody at school can know about. Us. I burst out laughing. What ISUS exactly? A sugar daddy arrangement? A forbidden underground romance? I hired a tour guide, and you're acting like we're exchanging spy secrets. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. But hey, I continued casually. If UDO wants something scandalous to happen between us, the dorm gates are locked by now. It's pouring outside. This master bedroom has a king-size bed. We could share. She gasped and stumbled backward like I'd pulled a grenade pin. Arms crossed over her chest, full defensive formation. I was just messing with her. I'm not that desperate. With my bank account, there were plenty of volunteers out there. Like that Porsche salesgirl Han Shuyao. She'd practically handed me a VIP membership card to herself. I pointed down the hallway. Guest room. Left side. Go sleep. She vanished like a startled rabbit. I heard the lock click approximately 7 times. I flopped onto the master bed. The system notification popped up. Muchanga development progress. 5%. Wait, what? I didn't even touch her finger tonight. How did the progress go up? With Han Shuyao, I at least had some hands-on interaction, and that only got me to 10%. Does this Ice Queen have some kind of hidden self-conquest perk? Like, you show her basic human decency, and she starts filling up her own progress bar in her imagination? Whatever. I was too sleepy to analyze the system's grading rubric. I pulled the silk blanket over my head and was snoring within 30 seconds. Next morning, Saturday, 10 a.m. I woke up naturally, checked my account. Another 100 million had arrived overnight. This system was basically an ATM that loved me. Changa was already dressed and sitting on the couch waiting, looking noticeably less hostile than yesterday. The permafrost was starting to thaw. I took her down to the garage and clicked the key for the red 911. Time to test drive the other toy. As she bent down to get into the low sports car, her loose collar gave way, and I got a generous preview of the landscape beneath. I stood by the driver's door and enjoyed the view like a gentleman at a scenic overlook. Openly, honestly, no shame. She squeezed into the passenger seat and immediately discovered this car was not built for comfort. The 911's cabin was tighter than an economy airline seat. Her long legs had nowhere to go, Her knees were jammed against the glove box like sardines in a can. When I floored it onto the highway, the G-force smashed her into the bucket seat so hard her ice-cold poker face finally cracked. Her lips were twitching uncontrollably. I'm pretty sure she was convinced I chose this car specifically to torture her. We arrived at Plaza 66, Shanghai's luxury shopping temple. Walking side by side, we looked absolutely ridiculous. She was in a 68,000 yuan designer trench coat radiating Fortune 500 energy. I was still in my old t-shirt, ratty shorts, and disintegrating mesh sneakers. In the reflection of the store windows, I looked like a broke college kid being bankrolled by a rich cougar. Should have ordered some men's clothes last night too. Rookie mistake. We walked into a high-end men's custom store. The salesgirl saw my outfit and her enthusiasm flatlined. Then she spotted Changa walking in behind me. Designer coat, expensive boots, CEO aura, and her face did a complete theatrical transformation. Instant 8-tooth professional smile. T appeared out of nowhere. She assumed Changa was a wealthy businesswoman and I was her kept boy toy. Which, honestly, fair conclusion given the visual evidence. Changa threw herself into tour guide mode with genuine dedication. She started darting between clothing racks, pulling colors, matching fabrics, building outfits like she was styling a magazine cover. I stepped out of the fitting room in her first pick, a clean-cut black shirt with perfectly draped dark gray trousers. The combination did something magical. My features are already pretty sharp and angular, and now with 200 million in the bank giving me that effortless confidence. Even the salesgirl who'd seen thousands of customers blushed. Changa was staring too. Her usually sealed lips had fallen slightly open. I could see the single thought bouncing around her brain. This man cleans up dangerously well. I swiped my card, then told the salesgirl to pack every color variant in my size. Just because. But that was just the warm-up. Over the next 2 hours, I went through that mall like a financial hurricane. Every luxury counter got hit. Casual wear, limited edition watches, cufflinks, leather shoes. If I liked it, I bought it. Changa noticed I never once checked a price tag. Then I steered us into a massive women's haute couture store. I pointed at several outfits and a bunch of intimate apparel in various sizes. Changa's hands shot up in protest. She thought I was buying more stuff for her. She waved frantically, insisting she absolutely did not need more clothes. I turned around with my most innocent face. Oh, relax, senior. These aren't for you. They're for the guest room closet. You know, backups for the other girls I'll be bringing home. The air in the store froze solid. The salesgirl who was mid-fold flinched, ducked her head, and started shaking from suppressed laughter. Changa's waving arms locked in midair like a buffering video. Her face went from white to red so fast I thought she might catch fire. She slowly lowered her hands, and I could tell her toes were curling so hard inside her boots they were drilling through the soles. In her mind, she was screaming one word on repeat, scumbag. But even though she knew, there was absolutely nothing between us. Hearing other girls still made her chest feel weirdly tight. An inexplicable, annoying, sour little feeling spreading through her like slow poison. 10 minutes later, everything was bagged. That's when she tugged shyly on my sleeve. Sumu, can you wait for me for a minute? There's a cheaper underwear store around the corner. I need to buy something. I looked at her, confused. They sell that stuff everywhere in this mall. Why go to a specific cheap one? Her face turned the color of a ripe tomato. She bit her lip so hard it went white. After an agonizing silence, she squeezed out an explanation through clenched teeth. Last night, those boutique people delivered standard sizes based on an average girl's measurements. The underwear too, but my situation, it's too small. I tried to tough it out, but after walking around all morning, it really hurts. I looked at the silk blouse buttons currently fighting a losing war against physics and finally understood why she'd been walking so stiffly all morning. Upper body rigid like a soldier on parade. The clothes weren't too small. SHE was too gifted. I was sitting on the store's fancy sofa playing mobile games while Changa went to pick out underwear. She'd spent 2 hours expertly styling me like a professional fashion consultant. But the second it was time to buy something for herself, she turned into a nervous wreck insisting on getting the cheapest option possible. I'd had to shut that down. My time is worth more than your few thousand yuan. That got her moving. She scurried into the mysterious lingerie zone like a mouse entering a church. She told the salesgirl to bring the cheapest basic set in a bigger size. The salesgirl gave her a knowing look and came back with a simple black lace number. Changa was mentally calculating. Basic set, probably a few hundred. I can cover this with my companion app earnings. Then she flipped the price tag. 4,200 yuan. 4 underwear. The cheapest option in this store cost more than a month of her cafeteria wages. She could buy an entire market stall's worth of fabric for that price. But the real disaster was yet to come. She went into the fitting room and tried on this fancy piece of engineering. It had one of those full-back zipper designs, the kind invented by someone who clearly hates women. She reached behind her back, started pulling, and the zipper got stuck. Jammed right into the mesh lining halfway up her spine and refused to budge in either direction. She spent 5 minutes doing yoga poses trying to free herself. Arms twisted behind her back until they nearly cramped off. Nothing worked. She was standing in front of the mirror looking at herself, face beet red, wearing half-zipped black lace, acres of pale skin exposed, hands pinned behind her like a hostage, and thinking, if anyone sees this, the Ice Queen reputation dies today. Not just dies, gets cremated and scattered into the Huangpu River. She couldn't pull it up, couldn't pull it down. She'd already sent the salesgirl away because having someone hovering outside made her uncomfortable, and she couldn't force it or she'd rip 4,200 yuan worth of fabric. She pressed her forehead against the cold wall, and a tear squeezed out. Then she texted me. I finished my game, strolled over to the fitting room area. The velvet curtain opened exactly one crack, wide enough for a single desperate eyeball to peek out. A tiny, tear-choked voice floated through the gap. Help! I swear this woman has a supernatural ability to attract every possible disaster. She's like a magnet for embarrassment. I checked that nobody was around, then squeezed through the curtain. She was hugging her coat against her chest, back facing me. I looked down at the crime scene. A zipper the size of a fingernail had bitten into the mesh lining and locked itself with the determination of a pit bull. For 1,000 yuan, and this is the build quality? A 10 yuan street market bra has better engineering. If a couple got excited and pulled this thing too hard, it'd be a one-time use product. I pinched the tiny metal zipper head with 2 fingers. Unfortunately, my fingertips made contact with the warm skin of her back. She convulsed like she'd been electrocuted. Senior, can you please stop shaking? If you keep vibrating like this and I break the zipper, we'll have to call the salesgirl in with scissors. And that would be a story people tell for generations. She froze. Stopped breathing entirely. Became a statue. I worked the mesh threads free with one hand and braced the zipper base with the other. Found the exact jam point. One firm pull. RRIP, the zipper came loose. But I'd pulled too hard. The sudden release of tension threw her off balance. She spun around instinctively to catch herself, hands flying to her chest, but not before the full panoramic view was briefly, gloriously displayed at a distance of less than 10 centimeters from my face. I stumbled backward so fast I slammed into the door frame. Thunk! The air in that tiny space turned to concrete. We could hear each other's heartbeats hammering like competing drums. And that's when the salesgirl came clicking back in her heels. Her voice floated through the curtain, sweet and suspicious. How's the fit? Is the size working out? If I walked out right now, I could jump into the Huangpu River and still wouldn't wash this clean. I pressed my hand against Changa's shoulder, pushed her deeper into the fitting room, and yanked the curtain shut tight. We were squeezed together in a space designed for one person. Changa's face was so red it was practically glowing in the dark. She bit her lip to swallow a scream. Her heart was pounding so hard I could feel it through the air between us. The system pinged. Mu Changa development progress, 10%. Hidden information unlocked. This is the target's first time having physical contact with a young male in her entire life. Current mental state, chaos, shame, and a tiny bit of pride. I almost choked. Are you serious, system? One of the 4 campus beauties? 98 face, 96 body, 20 years old, and she's never even held hands with a guy? But actually, it made perfect sense. She's on student loans, working 3 jobs, supporting her sister. When exactly would she have time for romance? Dating is a luxury hobby that costs both money and time. 2 things she has 0 of. But wait, a tiny bit of pride? Pride? About what? Being trapped in a fitting room with your bra stuck? The female mind is an absolute enigma. 10 minutes later, we walked out one after the other. The salesgirl was standing at a distance, smiling so wide her face might split. We both pretended absolutely nothing had happened. World-class acting from both parties. I paid. We walked through the mall corridor side by side, except with enough gap between us to park a bicycle. Then Changa stopped behind me. Sumu, these clothes. I'll pay you back. Monthly, from my part-time work. I didn't even turn around. Sipped my iced Americano through the straw and kept walking with my, I don't know this person swagger. Sure, senior. Take your time. Interest rate will be the central bank's base rate plus 10%. The thank you she'd been building up choked and died a horrible death in her throat. She stood there staring at the back of my head like I was a cartoon villain. Meanwhile, down on the first floor, our class beauty Lin Jiue was sitting at some Instagram-worthy dessert spot, spending 20 minutes photographing a tiramisu that was melting into soup. She was trying to get the perfect angle for her social media grid when two figures walked through her camera frame. She was about to crop them out. Then she zoomed in on the woman. Muchanga, the girl who washes dishes in the cafeteria. The girl who can't afford a decent lipstick. Except now she was wearing a brand new designer trench coat, silk blouse, and red-bottom leather boots. Head-to-toe luxury worth more than 100,000 yuan. And she was walking behind a tall, well-dressed young man who had his face turned away. Lin Jiue couldn't identify me. She only saw a blurry side profile, but her gossip radar was screaming. The distance between us, Changa's awkward body language, the shopping bag she was carrying while I strolled ahead sipping coffee. Lin Jiue's conclusion was instant. Rich man's kept woman. She looked down at her own outfit, a knockoff jacket she'd bought on sale for 790 yuan, the one she wore to feel fancy. Compared to what Changa was wearing, she looked like she'd raided a clearance bin. Why? She screamed internally. I'm pretty too. My face is up there. Okay, the body department. Fine. Changa was playing on cheat mode. But why does SHE get plucked out of poverty and launched into the stratosphere? Her tiramisu had completely melted into an unrecognizable brown puddle. A perfect metaphor for her self-esteem right now. She almost posted the photos on the school forum with a devastating caption. She had 3 viral headlines ready to go. But her remaining brain cells stopped her. Destroying Changa's reputation wouldn't make the mystery rich guy notice her. Burning down someone else's house doesn't build yours. So she created a secret encrypted photo album and filed the pictures away. Insurance. A nuclear option saved for the right moment. 30 minutes later, we were back in the underground garage. Changa settled into the 911's passenger seat, surrounded by shopping bags worth a down payment on a Shanghai apartment. Sumu, do rich people really not treat money like money? What you spent this morning would take me 2 years of working 3 jobs with no eating or sleeping. I shifted into drive and eased out of the parking spot. Didn't even look up. Well, since you know I'm generous, maybe you should seriously reconsider that life assistant offer I made yesterday. Room and board included. 10,000 a month. Way safer than putting on a trench coat disguise and accepting stranger dates at midnight. Don't you think? The car went quiet. Just the 911's exhaust growling off the concrete pillars. This time, she didn't shoot me down instantly like she had in the nurse's office. She turned to look out the window at the passing scenery. And finally, barely louder than a whisper. Let me think about it. I gripped the steering wheel and let my lips curl up just a tiny bit. Progress. Now, I wasn't there for what happened next, but based on the aftermath, I can piece it together pretty well. Changa pushed open her dorm room door at 1:30 on a Saturday afternoon, fully expecting an empty room. She thought everyone was out. She thought wrong. 3 roommates. 3 pairs of eyes. All locked onto her like heat-seeking missiles. 2 seconds of absolute silence. Apparently those 2 seconds felt longer than the 5 minutes she spent trapped in that zipper. Zhongling, the athletic one on the top bunk, slammed her phone down and half-launched herself over the railing like a human catapult. Changa, you didn't come home last night. Changa activated Ice Queen protocol. Face, neutral. Voice calm. Alibi, rehearsed the entire drive home. Rain was too heavy. Sat in McDonald's all night. Zhongling's eyeballs nearly left her skull. You sat in McDonald's wearing that? Were you eating Big Macs or shooting a commercial? Then Fong Jintz, who was sitting there with a face mask half peeled off looking like a green and white zombie, rushed over and flipped the tag inside Changa's coat sleeve. She stared at the label for 3 seconds. Her jaw dropped. Face mask serum started dripping off her chin and she didn't even notice. This brand. My mom tried on the same coat last month. The price was 68,000. She pretended to take a phone call, and we ran out of the store. Zhongling heard, 68,000, and vaulted off the top bunk with the leg power of someone who's played competitive badminton for years. She circled Chang'e like a detective at a crime scene, inspecting everything. The shoes are new. This leather. This sole. The blouse feels wrong too, way too smooth. All right, Ice Queen, confess. Where were you really last night? Chang'e backed up half a step. A friend lent me the clothes. I'll return them. Zhongling put her hands on her hips. What kind of friend casually lends you 68,000 yuan worth of clothes? Is your friend Jack Ma's daughter? Fong Jins nodded furiously from the side. If you said you borrowed a Uniqlo jacket, maybe I'd believe you. One damaged button on this coat, and you can't afford to pay for it. Chang'e's lies were collapsing faster than a house of cards in a tornado. Zhongling smelled blood. She leaned in with the grin of a veteran gossip hunter. Did you finally figure it out last night? Did someone? Open your eyes to new experiences. Was he handsome? Was he impressive? We're all sisters here. You can tell us. We'll keep the secret. Fong Jins ripped off her remaining face mask and joined the huddle. Three heads almost touching. Yeah, are you dating someone? What's the big deal? Just tell us. Chang'e retreated to her bed, faced the color of a fire truck, waving her hands like she was directing emergency traffic. And no, nothing happened. Stop guessing. There was no eye-opening of any kind. Oh ho ho, she's stuttering. And she says nothing happened? Zhongling planted herself on Chang'e's bed like she was setting up camp. The interrogation was just beginning. Fong Jins dropped a bomb of her own for encouragement. Look, my ex was 6'2" with abs for days, and he still couldn't last 30 minutes including warm-up. I dumped him on the spot. Zhongling was cackling. Exactly. Jin's ex is a cautionary tale for all mankind. So spill it. You were gone all morning too. Don't tell me you couldn't get out of bed? Chang'e listened to her roommate's shift from 0 to 180 on the indecency speedometer and nearly short-circuited. These girls looked so innocent in public. Behind closed doors they drove faster than race cars. She grabbed her pillow and smashed it over her face. Stop asking. Nothing happened. You perverts. Then, because her mouth apparently had no emergency brake, it was just a junior I know. His family is rich. It rained. I couldn't get back, so I slept in his guest room. That's it. The second those words left her lips, she wanted to swallow them back. Zhongling's gossip radar went nuclear. A junior? Since when? How come we don't know? His family is rich? You slept at his place wearing clothes he bought you, and you're telling me nothing happened? Fong Jins delivered the kill shot. A man and a woman, alone, all night. With your looks. And nothing happened? Chang'e, do you even believe that? Every word she said dug the hole deeper. She chose silence. Now, the fourth roommate, Sue Banksia, had been sitting quietly on her own bed the entire time, sewing a worn-out jacket with a needle and thread. She hadn't said a single word. She just looked at Chang'e once and noticed what the others missed. Underneath the expensive clothes, Chang'e's eyes were heavy with exhaustion. Not the smug, satisfied look of a girl being spoiled by a sugar daddy. Something else entirely. Banksia got up, filled a cup of hot water, and quietly placed it on Chang'e's desk. Chang'e saw that cup and her throat tightened. She knew Banksia's family situation was even worse than hers. Standing there in a 68,000 yuan coat in front of a girl, sewing a 30 yuan second-hand jacket, felt like the cruelest kind of showing off. But Zhongling had zero emotional radar. She was running on pure gossip adrenaline. She grabbed Chang'e and dragged her toward the bed. Let me inspect these clothes for evidence. Time for a body search. Fong Jins blocked the door. Chang'e was cornered between the cabinet and the desk. Zhongling's badminton-trained grip was terrifyingly strong. Stop it, Ling. Just let me check if you changed what's underneath. Then I'll know the truth. They wrestled on the bed. Fong Jins was clapping and howling with laughter, face mask chunks falling off like confetti. Banksia sat on her bed, clutching her needle, watching this circus with quiet resignation. The coat got yanked half open. The silk blouse collar loosened. Chang'e flailed. Her elbow smacked a cabinet handle. The pain made her flinch sideways. And pop, the second button of her blouse shot off like a tiny projectile. Zhongling had been laughing. She stopped laughing. Her eyes locked onto the skin below Chang'e's collarbone. Two angry red marks. Deep, clear, running from above her chest downward, disappearing beneath the fabric. Vivid crimson lines against impossibly white skin. Every sound in the room died. Zhongling let go. Fang Jin's smile vanished. Banksia's needle jabbed into her own finger. A bead of blood swelled on her fingertip. She didn't react. All three stared at those marks. Chang'e followed their eyes, looked down, and her face drained of color. She yanked everything closed, wrapping the coat around herself like armor. Too late. Zhongling's lips were trembling. Her voice came out small and careful, like she was handling glass. Chang'e, did he do this to you? Chang'e's brain whited out for a second. Then she saw their faces, genuinely terrified, ready to go to war, and realized what they were thinking. You've got it wrong. It's just marks from the underwear. The size was too small. Zhongling searched her eyes with real, raw concern. Chang'e, tell me the truth. If something happened to you, if someone hurt you, we go to the police. Together. Right now. Fang Jin's eyes were already red. Did someone force you? Don't be scared. My dad knows people. Chang'e looked at three faces full of genuine worry and felt a sharp ache in her chest. She shook her head as hard as she could. It's really just the underwear being too small. I wore it all morning, and it left marks. That's all. What are you people even imagining? Zhongling stared at her for several long seconds. Then why didn't you change to a different one? And that question hit Chang'e like a brick wall. Because the real answer was, she forgot to mention her actual size to the boutique delivery service at my penthouse, wore the wrong fit all night, then got the zipper stuck on. The replacement pair in a fitting room and had to have me come in and physically unjam it while we were pressed together in a space the size of a phone booth. If she said even one word of that, this dorm room would erupt into chaos that wouldn't settle until graduation. It was late. I just didn't change. Zhongling's eyebrows twisted into a pretzel. So let me get this straight. You spent the night at a rich junior's house. You came home wearing his 68,000 yuan clothes. And you have marks on your chest. She paused. And you're telling me it's from your underwear being too tight. Now, I wasn't in that dorm room. But what happened there was apparently a full-blown soap opera. Chang'e's roommates didn't buy a single word of her alibi. Zhongling, the badminton girl, finally dropped the comedy act and got serious. She leaned in close, gripping the bedsheet. Chang'e, I'm not trying to gossip. Shanghai is a dangerous city. Those rich playboys out there, most of them are scum. If you need money, the four of us can pull something together. You won't even buy yourself decent shampoo. Please don't go doing something crazy just because you're broke. Fang Jin was nodding behind her like a bobblehead. Chang'e buried herself under her blanket like a human burrito and growled from inside the cotton fortress. Zhongling, if you say one more word, I'm applying for a room transfer tomorrow. That shut everyone up instantly. Zhongling mimed zipping her mouth closed. She knew Chang'e well enough. This girl looked soft on the outside, but was made of steel underneath. Push too hard, and she'd genuinely pack her bags and leave. The two gossip queens exchanged a loaded look. 1,000 unspoken words bounced between their eyeballs. What nobody noticed was that the dorm room door, warped from years of humidity, had a 2-finger-wide gap where the hinge was broken. And on the other side of that gap, a girl named Zhou Jiqing had been standing with her ear practically glued to the rusty door frame. She'd been coming back from doing laundry, heard voices through the gap, and her feet slowed down all by themselves. In a few minutes of premium eavesdropping, she caught every explosive keyword. 68,000 yuan clothes, wrong underwear size, red marks made by a man. Her brain stitched these fragments into a complete scandal at lightning speed. She tiptoed away like a mouse robbing a cheese factory, not daring to breathe until she was back in her own room. She locked the door, threw down her laundry basket, and collapsed into her chair with the barely contained excitement of someone who'd just found buried treasure. See, Zhou Jiqing had a history. She and Zhao Zixuan, the same Audi A6 clown I'd splashed with mud puddle water last night, were childhood sweethearts. They'd been sneaking off to movies and karaoke through all of high school, planning to go public with their relationship in college. But the second Zhao Zixuan stepped on campus and saw the 4 campus beauties rankings, his loyalty evaporated like morning dew. Last week he'd actually told Zhou Jiqing to keep her distance at school and act like they were just regular classmates. She was livid, and now she had ammunition. She pulled up Zhao Zixuan's chat and started typing. The Ice Queen Mu Chang'e didn't come home last night. Came back in designer clothes worth over 100,000. She's got marks on her body from some guy. She read it twice, realized she sounded too emotional, deleted everything, and started carefully crafting the perfect message. One that would make Zhao Zishuan see that his precious campus goddess was tainted and come crawling back to her. Meanwhile, back in Changa's room, Su Banksia, the quiet fourth roommate who'd been silently sewing her 30 yuan second-hand jacket this whole time, stood up without a word. She walked to her desk, opened a drawer containing a few cheap skincare products, and pulled out a small flat container. She placed it gently on the bedsheet next to Changa's pillow, a 9 yuan 90 tube of aloe vera gel. Changa was peeking through a gap in the blanket. She recognized it immediately. Her heart felt like someone had grabbed it with a rough fist and squeezed. Banksia leaned down to the blanket gap and whispered, quiet enough that only the two of them could hear. Put this on when you shower tonight. Aloe gel gets rid of those red marks fastest. Then she walked back to her spot without waiting for a response. No drama. No interrogation. Just quiet kindness from a girl whose own situation was even worse. Now, over on my end of things, I was pulling into the Thompson Riviera garage in my red 911, wearing my freshly purchased designer outfit, feeling like $1,000,000. Well, $200 million, technically, since another 100 mil had hit my account while I was sleeping. I took the private elevator up, pushed open the door to my penthouse, and the perfectly chilled air conditioning greeted me like an old friend. I tossed the car key onto the entry table, slipped into my soft house shoes, and strolled into the living room. That's when I noticed something on the glass coffee table. A white towel, the same one I'd tossed at Changa last night, folded into a perfect rectangle, so precise it looked military-grade. Next to it was a small square note torn from a notepad. I picked it up. Neat handwriting, slightly nervous. The towel and shirt have been washed and dried. Thank you for yesterday. Moo. I stared at that note for a few seconds and couldn't help grinning. This woman actually washed, dried, and folded my stuff before she left? She really was auditioning for the life assistant job without even realizing it. I crumpled the note into a ball, flicked my wrist, and sank it perfectly into the smart trash can across the room. Nothing but net. The instant that paper ball hit the bottom, ding, the system lit up my retinas. Detected. Target Mu Changa voluntarily exhibited domestic care behavior. System determines this aligns with early manifestation of target's hidden attribute. Congratulations. Development progress increased by 5%. I stood there frozen with 3 giant question marks floating over my head. 5%. For folding a towel. Let me get this straight. In the fitting room today, I physically entered a confined space, worked on her back zipper with my bare fingers, had a face-to-face encounter with her entire geography at 10-centimeter range, and that gave me progress. But her folding a towel and writing a thank you note also gives me 5%. Han Shuyao from the Porsche dealership. I literally had hands-on contact, and she's only at 10%. But Changa, who I've barely grazed, is now at 15% and climbing. Her progress bar was running on its own like it had a motor attached. I threw myself onto the leather couch, the one big enough to sleep 3 people, and just lay there staring at the ceiling. This system's scoring algorithm was absolutely unhinged. Was it calculating based on physical contact? Emotional bonding? Towel folding technique? I thought about it more. In the fitting room, the system said her emotions included a tiny bit of pride, and now she's voluntarily doing domestic stuff and gaining progress points from it. Put it all together with the hidden attribute that was still locked behind a question mark wall. I was starting to see the pattern. Changa's secret shortcut wasn't romance or physical stuff at all. She was the type who served. Take care of her, let her take care of you, and she'd basically conquer herself from the inside out. Self-attacking fortress. Just add kindness. But you know what? I rolled over on the couch and yawned. I had a fresh 100 million landing in my account every single day. Why would I sit here reverse engineering a woman's emotional architecture like some lab researcher? She was already in my orbit. With her financial situation, she couldn't escape my gravitational pull even if she tried. I was busy thinking about what kind of expensive toy to buy myself tomorrow when my phone buzzed. Wang Hao. Bro, where have you been all weekend? You're like a ghost. Before I could reply, a second message popped up. Wan Xing posted in the student council group. She's hosting a welcome tea party for freshmen at the activity center the day after tomorrow. And get this, she personally invited me. Told me to bring my roommates too. I was chilling in the lounge area of this fancy gym when the drama kicked off in the private training zone. Sue Banksia, Changa's quiet roommate, the one who sews 30 yuan jackets, was doing a flexibility test for her part-time coaching gig. This girl bent down, grabbed her own toes, and pulled her leg past her shoulder until it was flat against her ear. Like a human pretzel. No warm-up. Her thigh was shaking, but the leg stayed perfectly straight. The system had flagged her with a special tag, and now I understood why. That level of bendability was absolutely inhuman. The rich lady watching, some middle-aged woman named Jiang Lifan, dripping in diamonds and attitude, had been hoping to see Banksia fail. Instead, she got a front-row seat to Cirque du Soleil. Her face went sour instantly. Nice form, Jiang Lifan said, then, accidentally, tilted her fancy thermos and dumped half a cup of warm water right onto the yoga mat. The anti-slip surface became an ice rink. Banksia's foot shot out from under her. She twisted midair to avoid smashing the expensive equipment and landed with her entire weight on her ankle. Crack. The kind of sound that makes your teeth hurt. Before the poor girl could even scream, Jiang Lifan was already shrieking like she was the victim. Are you trying to give me a heart attack? You clumsy country bumpkin. Could you even afford to pay if something happened to me? The store manager came sprinting over and went straight to comfort the rich lady. Didn't even glance at Banksia lying on the floor with a face white as paper. Then she turned on Banksia. You nearly hurt our most valued VIP. Your commission is gone. Your perfect attendance bonus? Erased. Banksia was clutching her rapidly swelling ankle, tears pouring down her face. She poured the water on purpose. Please don't take my pay. That money is for my mom's medicine next month. Jiang Lifan rolled her eyes. Oh, how dramatic. Always dragging out the sick relatives. I paid 80,000 for my membership, not to listen to peasants cry. Manager, either she goes, or I'm canceling my card. The manager heard, cancel, and practically short-circuited. She spun on Banksia, finger raised, ready to go nuclear. That's when I opened my mouth from across the room. An 80,000 yuan gym membership, and she's acting like the Empress Dowager? Is the bar for being important in Shanghai really this low? The manager turned around ready to yell at me too, but my new designer outfit made her hesitate. She squinted, then decided I was just some young kid playing dress-up. Non-members can't enter the private area. Who are you? I ignored her completely, walked straight to the center of the room, and looked at Jiang Lifan like she was something stuck to my shoe. Ma'am, if menopause is hitting you this hard, go see an endocrinologist. Don't take it out on a part-time college girl. It's genuinely disgusting to watch. The word, menopause, hit her like a slap. The fat on her neck started jiggling from rage. Her diamond ring was shaking. This woman was used to being treated like royalty everywhere she went because her husband made decent money in construction. Nobody had ever called her disgusting to her face. She jabbed a bedazzled fingernail at my nose. You broke little white knight. Think putting on nice clothes makes you somebody? You kids read too many novels. You actually think you're some CEO who can do whatever he wants. The manager piled on, trying to score points with her VIP. I didn't waste breath arguing. See, while I'd been sitting in the lobby earlier, I'd noticed a business transfer notice posted on the wall with a phone number. This gym was for sale. I pulled out my phone and dialed. On speaker. Hello, Mr. Wong. I hear your Shanghai location is struggling and you're looking for a buyer. I'm interested. Name your price. Jiang Lifan cackled. You're buying the store? Who's this performance for? But the owner on the phone was a sharp businessman. He knew random people don't call about million-dollar purchases for fun. Straight to business. I like it. Prime location, top-tier renovation, 12 million for the whole package. Close within a week and I'll drop it to 10 million flat. Consider it making a friend. 10 million? With my daily 100 million allowance, that was pocket lent. 10 million works. I can pay in full today. One condition. I heard the man's breathing stop on the other end. All existing employee contracts transfer to me immediately. Done. Let's meet at my private club on the Bund tonight to sign. I'll throw in a black gold membership card as a welcome gift. I hung up. The room went absolutely dead. The manager had heard every word on speakerphone from half a meter away. Her face cycled through emotions like a slot machine. Arrogance, confusion, then pure terror. Her phone slipped from her fingers and clattered on the floor. Jiang Lifan's mouth was hanging open like a strangled duck. Not a single sound came out. I pocketed my phone, stood up slowly, and walked to the trembling manager. So, we clear on who owns this place now. She bent so low, I thought her spine might snap. BB boss. Hello. The room flatlined. Every rich lady who'd been smirking from the sidelines went pale and started thanking the heavens they'd kept their mouths shut. First order of business as the new owner. I pointed at the manager's ashen face. You're fired. And those wages you were going to dock from her? Double that amount comes out of your final paycheck and goes to her. She deserved worse, but I wasn't going to waste more time on her. Then I turned to Zhang Lifan. Your membership is canceled. I waved the security guard over. Escort this lady out. From today on, this establishment has a new policy. No dogs and no her allowed inside. Putting her in the same category as dogs? Maximum humiliation, minimum effort. She grabbed her designer purse and fled like the building was on fire. I announced the gym was closed for the day. Everyone cleared out. The only person left was Sue Banksia, standing on one good foot, completely shell-shocked, staring at me like I'd just descended from outer space. After everyone cleared out, it was just me and Banksia. I looked at her ankle, swollen up like a baseball. I poked it gently. Sprain or fracture? She flinched and sucked air through her teeth, pulling away like a startled kitten. Her eyes were still red, but she was forcing herself not to cry in front of me. This girl had the stubbornness of a mule packed into the body of a baby deer. I heard everything from outside, I said, softening my voice a little. People who take care of their parents like you do don't stay unlucky forever. This was our first real interaction. She had no idea who I was or how much money I had. She just thought I was some aggressively generous stranger who'd gone way too far, buying an entire gym to win an argument. Honestly, fair assessment. Go grab your stuff. I'm calling a car to take you to the hospital for an x-ray. She started doing the classic poor person hand wave of refusal, but I gave her the, this isn't a discussion, look. She shut up and limped to the corner to get her canvas bag. Now, here's the thing about yoga clothes. They're skin tight. To avoid visible lines, girls apparently strip down to absolutely nothing underneath when they change. Banksia had been so rattled by the whole ordeal that she just balled up her personal items and shoved them loosely into her bag. As she hobbled back, her ankle gave out. I lunged forward and caught her arm, but the sudden tilt made her poorly zipped bag swing open, and sitting right there on top of her dark clothes was a tiny white piece of fabric. Very small, very private, very much belonging to a young woman who did not want anyone seeing it. 1 second of silence. She followed my eyes down, saw what was exposed, and her entire body ignited like a match. Her little ears turned so red they could have guided aircraft at night. She slammed the bag shut with the urgency of someone defusing a nuclear warhead and stumbled backward, unable to make eye contact. But what was really eating at her wasn't just the embarrassment, it was the money situation. I now own this gym. I was also the guy who just rescued her. Her mom had raised her to repay kindness. So how could she possibly ask her savior to settle her outstanding wages? But her mom's hospital account was almost empty and she desperately needed that cash. The premium car arrived. She started her refusal speech again, so I just bent down and scooped her up. Full Princess Carrie. No warning. She grabbed my arm on pure reflex. Our faces were suddenly very close. She got a noseful of whatever I smelled like and her face went nuclear red. She let go of my arm like it was made of lava. I set her down in the back seat and closed the door. The ride was quiet. Good driver, no small talk, just AC humming and tires on asphalt. Banksia kept her face glued to the window the entire time, her tiny ears still burning pink. After a while, she finally worked up the courage to turn around. Her voice came out mosquito volume. I'm Sue Banksia. What's your name? Every word dripped with, please don't hurt me, energy. This girl's entire personality was like a hamster that had been yelled at too many times. Oh hey, you're Sue too? I'm Sue Moo. I leaned back in my seat and looked at her. She reminded me of a timid little niece. I couldn't resist. Since we're both Seuss, you should just call me Uncle. She short-circuited. She'd been mentally preparing herself in case I asked her to call me Big Brother, already rehearsing how embarrassing that would be. But Uncle? Her big doe eyes went wide. Her mouth opened and stayed open. No words came out for a solid 5 seconds. I grinned like the villain I was. Sue plus Sue equals shoo-shoo. Uncle. It's just math. She had no comeback. Absolutely none. At the hospital, we got her ankle x-rayed. While we waited for results, Her beat-up phone buzzed. The caller ID said, "Floor 2 nurse station." She answered, and her face immediately darkened. She nodded along, mumbled something about getting the money together soon, and hung up quickly. I was sitting right next to her on those cheap blue plastic chairs. Didn't ask. Didn't need to. I'd already connected every dot. The doctor confirmed it was a bad sprain, not a fracture. Gave her some blood circulation ointment. As we were leaving, she stopped walking. "Can you help me get to the second floor?" She was staring at the shiny floor tiles, wringing her hands together so hard her knuckles were white. "My mom is staying here. I want to visit her." She said it simply. No sob story. No fishing for sympathy. Just a girl who wanted to see her sick mother. I said sure and walked with her upstairs. The hallway reeked of disinfectant. We stopped outside room 203. She gripped the doorframe and turned to me. "Wait out here? It's cramped inside." I leaned against the white corridor wall, hands in my pockets, and watched through the narrow glass window in the door. 6 beds crammed into one cheap shared room. Noisy, cluttered, depressing. And there she was, this skinny little girl with a busted ankle, hobbling around inside, taking care of her mom like she wasn't falling apart herself. I could have left ages ago. There was no reason for me to still be standing in a hospital hallway on a Saturday afternoon. But something about this girl, the way she'd nearly cried. From that rich woman's cruelty but refused to actually break. The way she'd silently placed that aloe gel on Changa's pillow without a word. It made me stick around. Plus, teasing her was genuinely entertaining. She was like a little punching bag that life kept hitting, and she just kept getting back up with those big scared eyes. She'd just taken way too many hits. While Banksia was inside visiting her mom, I strolled down to the payment hall and scanned my phone to clear her hospital bill. Tossed in some extra for future meds too. Then I swung by the nurse station and told them to move her mom into a private room. That 6-bed zoo was no place for anyone to heal. When I came back, Banksia was standing in the hallway looking lost, scanning both directions like a puppy whose owner disappeared at the park. When she spotted me walking over, her face lit up with this little smile, dimples and all, still with red puffy eyes from crying earlier. She looked like a kitten that just got bullied, and then someone petted it. I told her about the bill. She immediately burst into tears again. Big fat drops hitting the floor tiles like rain. "I didn't bring you upstairs to guilt you into paying." She was frantically waving her hands, wiping her face with her sleeve, voice cracking everywhere. This girl's default mode was apparently, apologize for existing. I rubbed my forehead. "Relax. You didn't protest when I told you to call me uncle in the car, right? So as your uncle, helping my little niece with a small favor is completely normal. Now go take care of your mom. I've got places to be." I turned and walked toward the elevator without even saying goodbye. Behind me, I heard the frantic slapping of one functional foot on tile. "I will pay you back." She was chasing me on a busted ankle, voice going hoarse. "Give me your bank account number. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to." I stopped and looked back at her. Red-faced, stubborn, absolutely refusing to accept charity even while standing on one leg. I couldn't help laughing. "Forget paying me back. Just call me uncle once, and we're even." I walked into the elevator before she could argue. The doors closed on her standing there in the middle of the corridor, holding her cracked phone, mouth hanging open, completely unable to process what just happened. Now here's where things got interesting, and I only found out the details later. Back in that cramped, stinky hospital room, Banksia's mom Lu Yuzhen was lying in bed looking frail, but with eyes sharper than a hawk's. This woman had seen some life. The second Banksia hobbled back in, her mom dropped a bomb. "That boy who helped you outside. What do you think of him?" Banksia's face went from 0 to tomato in half a second. She sat down on a plastic stool and panic dumped the entire story. The evil rich lady, me buying the gym on a phone call, me sneaking off to pay the hospital bill. Her mom listened to everything without a flicker of excitement. "No. Oh, how wonderful. No. Go thank him immediately." She just watched her daughter with those X-ray vision eyes and asked again. "So what do you think of him? Do you want this?" Banksia was completely confused. "Want what, Mom?" Her mother sighed with the wisdom of someone who'd survived decades of hard living. "Money can always be paid back, even if you have to borrow from loan sharks. But emotional debt? That never clears. The more you interact with him, the messier the accounts get. Eventually, it won't be about money anymore." Banksia shook her head frantically. "I'll just work hard, pay him back, and keep my distance." Her mom looked at her with that You sweet idiot. Expression. Then why did you cry in the hallway just now? And why did you smile? Direct hit. Banksia's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish. No words. Just cotton in her throat. Then her mother said something that cracked Banksia's entire defense system wide open. I know exactly what shape my body is in. I've been dragging you down too long. My only wish is that you don't spend your whole life chained to this broken family. But I can't even afford my own medicine, let alone pull you out of this mud. She turned to face her crying daughter. If you feel nothing for this person, then don't accept such a huge favor just because of me. Because debt built on someone saving your life. You might spend your whole life repaying it, and eventually your own heart gets thrown in too. Banksia collapsed. Face in her hands, shoulders shaking, sobbing. Mom, stop. You're all I have. Don't talk like you're leaving me. After the tears slowed down, her mom gently asked one final question. Forget the favors. Just tell me honestly, during everything that happened today, did you feel even one moment of discomfort or unease with him? Banksia thought for a long time. She remembered me being outrageously arrogant at the gym. She remembered me making her call me uncle with that annoying grin. She remembered how I helped without ever making her feel small. She shook her head firmly. No discomfort. Not once. Her mom smiled weakly. 5 words. This kind doesn't come twice. She didn't push. Didn't matchmake. She just started sharing stories from her own hard life, about what kinds of situations make women give their hearts away too easily, and how rare it is to find someone who helps you at your lowest without making you feel pathetic about it. Meanwhile, I was in a taxi heading back to campus, watching Shanghai scroll past the window. Then, ding. Target Sue Banksia, development progress 5%. Note, mother-in-law divine assist. Target has experienced first faint romantic feelings toward a male. Hidden attribute development prerequisites now activated. Mother-in-law divine assist? The system literally credited her MOM for wingmaning me. I didn't even do anything. I was in a taxi. Back at the hospital, Banksia was icing her balloon ankle when her roommate group chat buzzed. Zhongling was inviting everyone out for barbecue. Normally Banksia would have vented about getting fired from the yoga studio and fished for sympathy hugs. But this time, she just typed, "Too tired from work today, you guys go without me." First secret she'd ever kept from her roommates in 20 years of being alive. And the beautiful irony? She and Chongo were now both hiding the same secret in the same dorm room, and neither of them knew they'd met the same guy. I pushed open the dorm room door and was hit by a wall of smell so powerful it should be classified as a biological weapon. Instant noodle beef broth mixed with fermented sneakers. I stood in the doorway, took a deep breath, and thought, somehow, this disgusting cocktail of teenage boy funk feels like home. Wang Hao was face down on his bed, thumb attacking his phone screen like it owed him money. I leaned over and peeked. He was staring at Zhang Wanqing's social media post, a photo of a Starbucks latte and 4 manicured fingernails. This man had been drafting a comment under it. He was on version 4 of his reply. To a coffee photo. For drafts. For a girl who doesn't know he exists. I climbed onto my bunk with zero expression. He shoved the phone in my face. Bro, help me out. Does this comment sound okay? 2 words. Delete it. Why? Because even the worst girl on earth won't date her own simp. From below, Lu Chong, our resident know-it-all, snorted, and launched into a full broadcast about tomorrow's big event. Apparently, every September, our university holds something called the Battle of 100 Clubs. 60-plus student clubs set up booths on the field to recruit freshmen. Lu Chong described it with the enthusiasm of a sports commentator calling the World Cup finals. This is the annual beauty pageant of our campus. Let me brief you on the must-visit booths. He cleared his throat dramatically. Number 1, the Anime Club. Their president is Yi Zhiqiu, one of the 4 campus beauties. Millions of followers online. Her cosplay photos got shared 3,000 times on the school forum last year. Number 2, the Modeling Club. Wall-to-wall girls over 5'7". Every year, the crowd of guys who show up to browse stretches from the field to the cafeteria. Number 3, the Dance Club. Number 4, he wrapped up with a grand summary. Just remember one thing. Tomorrow's concentration of beautiful women per square meter will be the absolute peak of the entire school year. Chen Mo, our silent coder roommate who basically lives inside his laptop, pushed up his glasses, said, "I'll pass," and went back to typing. Legend. Wang Hao, instantly forgetting about his 5-draft comment masterpiece, grabbed my arm. Let's go check it out tomorrow. I shrugged. Nothing better to do. Sure. Meanwhile, over in the girls' dorm, Banksia had limped home on a bus with her ankle wrapped in bandages, wrists scraped up, and bruises on her arms. Fong Jin's spotted her from the top bunk and screamed like she'd witnessed a crime scene. Zhongling rushed over to inspect the damage. Banksia had her cover story ready. Fell down at my part-time job. Doctor said no fracture. I'm fine. Fong Jins grumbled suspiciously. That job sounds dangerous. Why is everyone getting hurt today? At that comment, Chang'e, who'd been pretending to be invisible at her desk, stiffened. But she couldn't ignore an injured roommate. Do you have any ointment? I can help you apply some before bed. Neither of them had any idea their injuries were both connected to the same guy. Me. What a beautiful cosmic joke. Zhongling handed Banksia some warm water. Here, Susu, sit down and elevate that foot. The nickname, Susu, she'd heard it her whole life. 20 years, 0 problems. But this time, the second those 2 syllables hit her ears, her brain hijacked itself and replayed a completely different voice. My voice. In that car. Telling her to call me uncle. Su plus Su equals Shushu. Her ears turned bright red. She grabbed the water cup with trembling fingers. Thanks, Lingling. Zhongling noticed absolutely nothing. She clapped her hands and made an announcement. Ladies, tomorrow is the battle of 100 clubs. Our anime club needs warm bodies. She zeroed in on Chang'e and Banksia like a heat-seeking missile. Chang'e, you quit the cafeteria job, right? Banksia, you're obviously not doing yoga tomorrow. The school pays 200 yuan plus a free lunch for helping out. All you have to do is exist near our booth. Chang'e's first instinct was to refuse. She did not want to stand in a crowd where someone might notice the marks on her neck. But then Zhongling hit her with, you don't even have to do anything. Just park your gorgeous face next to our sign and freshmen will stampede over to sign up. Chang'e went quiet for 10 seconds. Then a thought crossed her mind that she'd never admit out loud. If the whole school was going to be at the field tomorrow, would he be there too? And if he was, what should she wear? The Ice Queen said a quiet, and accepted the job. Zhongling turned on Banksia next. Banksia tried to use her injury as an excuse, but Zhongling was faster. You can SE the whole time. Just do paperwork in a folding chair. Think of it as sunbathing. 200 yuan was serious money for Banksia. Her mom's bills were covered now, but her own budget was still running on fumes. She blushed and nodded. The 2 girls locked eyes across the narrow dorm room aisle. Chang'e was thinking about me casually dropping 300,000 on a shopping spree. Banksia was thinking about me buying an entire gym without breaking a sweat. Both girls smiled bitterly to themselves, then nodded in perfect sync. Yes, they'd work tomorrow for 200 yuan each. Because when you owe a man the GDP of a small village, every coin counts. Back in my dorm, I came back from the shower to find Wang Hao still editing. Version 5 now. Lu Chang was already asleep, snoring like a diesel engine climbing a mountain. I hung up my towel and thought about tomorrow. The 4 campus beauties didn't really excite me. I'd already gotten up close and personal with Chang'e. But that anime club president, Yijiqiu, I'd actually seen her on short video apps over summer break. Might be worth swinging by the anime club booth tomorrow, just to take a look. The campus looked like someone dumped 1 million freshmen into a blender. Dozens of club booths stretched from one end of the field to the student center, banners hanging thicker than laundry lines. The air was a beautiful cocktail of sweat, cheap cologne, fruity perfume, and grilled sausage from the convenience store. Wang Hao was bouncing next to me like an escaped husky, head swiveling like a radar dish. Bro, look. The modeling club is all legs. That girl in the white dress has to be 5'9". I glanced over. Tall girls, sure. But after spending my week with SSS-rated goddesses, looking at regular pretty girls felt like browsing discount beef after eating Wagyu every night. Let's hit the anime club first. Since when do you care about anime? I don't. I care about the anime club president. Wang Hao opened his mouth, closed it, and just walked. He'd learned that arguing with my confidence level was pointless. The anime club booth was in prime position right outside the student center. Zhongling had decorated it with cosplay photos and posters. But the real weapon wasn't the decorations. It was Chang'e. She was wearing a light blue dress that hugged her waist and stopped just past her knees. And she'd put on makeup. Actual makeup. Mascara, lip tint, the works. The Ice Queen, who normally looked like she'd rather eat glass than touch a cosmetics brush, had voluntarily beautified herself. For what possible reason, I wonder? Her white glowing skin plus that frozen expression had created a 3-meter force field around the booth. Freshmen were staring from a distance like she was an exhibit at a museum. Look, but don't touch, don't breathe, don't exist. I also spotted Banksia sitting behind the table in a folding chair, injured ankle propped on a cardboard box, quietly filling out registration forms in her faded gray hoodie. No makeup, low ponytail, completely invisible next to Changa's nuclear-grade beauty. But I noticed her eyes kept drifting toward the crowd, searching. Both of them were looking for someone. Both of them were looking for me. Neither knew about the other. Wang Hao, go explore on your own. I'm heading to the anime club. He followed my gaze, saw Changa, and his face speed ran through shock, jealousy, and acceptance in 3 seconds flat. Fine. Go. I bought 2 hot milk teas and started strolling over. But from the opposite direction, another predator was circling. Zhao Zixuan, Mud Puddle Boy himself, had shown up wearing head-to-toe Balenciaga with a Rolex Submariner flashing on his wrist like a lighthouse. 2 lackeys flanking him. Apparently, he'd given up on Changa after his secret girlfriend, Zhou Jiqing, told him the Ice Queen was damaged goods, so he was shopping for fresh targets. His eyes landed on Banksia. She was sitting in the sunlight, no makeup, face clean and clear, looking like an undiscovered wildflower. And more importantly, she looked broke. Zhao Zixuan licked his lips. His internal calculator started clicking. He walked up and bent down with that rich kid charity voice. Hey, what happened to your foot? Looks serious. Want me to drive you to the clinic? My car's right there. Banksia didn't even look up. No thanks. He tried again. I'm Zhao Zixuan, also in the business school. You've probably heard of me. Want to add each other on WeChat? She finally raised her eyes. Her gaze was so flat and unimpressed it was like getting splashed with lukewarm water. Not interested. His smile cracked. He was loading up pickup line version 2.0 when a milk tea appeared from the side and landed on the table in front of Banksia. Susu, your uncle brought you a drink. Keep that injured foot warm. Banksia's head snapped up like she'd been electrocuted. I was standing half a meter away, holding my own tea, wearing that grin she found simultaneously mortifying and heart attack-inducing. Her ears went from normal to fire engine red in about 2 seconds, the blush spreading down her neck like lava. Why are you here? Just passing by. Yeah. Just casually bought 2 specific drinks and walked across the entire field. Totally coincidental. Zhao Zixuan's face twisted. Who the hell are you? I didn't even turn around. I kept talking to Banksia about her bandage coming loose and started to kneel down to fix it. She pulled her foot back, but only a tiny bit. Her mouth said, no, it's fine, but her foot stayed within reach. Hey, I'm talking to you. Zhao Zixuan was losing it. There's a line for hitting on girls, buddy. You think you can steal my spot with a cup of cheap tea? Get to the back. I finally turned my head and looked at him for exactly 2 seconds. The way you look at a bug that flew into your soup. Did the sun melt your brain during military training? You want to donate your corneas to someone who'll actually use them? She clearly doesn't want to talk to you. His lackey jumped in. Do you know who this is? That Audi A6 by the field? That's his. I processed this information and responded with a single devastating syllable. Oh. Then I went back to adjusting Banksia's bandage. She was gripping her pen so hard her knuckles were white, face completely crimson, but she didn't pull away. Zhao Zixuan was about to explode when an Arctic voice cut in from the side. This is a club registration area. If you're not signing up, stop blocking traffic. Changa had materialized next to Banksia's chair, staring at Zhao Zixuan with enough cold to freeze the entire field. She told him to leave. She didn't say a word to me, didn't even glance my direction. Zhao Zixuan noticed this. His hamster wheel brain started spinning. Why is the Ice Queen protecting this guy? He stepped back with a smirk and aimed his parting shot at me, loud enough for nearby people to hear. Don't get too excited, kid. You think she actually likes you? She's already been bought by some rich guy outside school. Probably used up from head to toe. Good looks don't matter. Only money talks. Changa went white as paper. Her lips trembled, not from anger, but terror. She spun to look at my face, desperately searching for disgust, for belief, for any sign I'd bought his words. Me? I was trying so hard not to laugh. Because the rich guy, who supposedly bought Changa? That was me. This genius had just sprinted across the field to warn me that my own purchase was being enjoyed by me. He tried to put a green hat on my head, except the cuckold and the guy being warned were the same person. This was genuinely the funniest thing that had ever happened to me. I stood up slowly, dusted off my knees, and looked at Chang'e. She was staring at me with those terrified, searching eyes. I leaned in so only she could hear. "You look really pretty in that dress today." Her brain short-circuited. Then every drop of blood in her body rushed to her face simultaneously. Lin Jiyue, our class beauty, showed up in a calculated pleated skirt, hunting for rich prey. Her eyes locked onto my shoes like a guided missile. She'd seen this brand in some luxury appreciation group chat. 5 figures minimum. She scanned the rest of my outfit. Everything was quiet, expensive, and exactly the kind of thing a hidden rich kid would wear. Her breathing got faster. She thought she'd discovered a secret gold mine. And the best part? Nobody else had found it yet. By noon the field was at maximum capacity. Chang'e and Banksia were both stuck at the anime club booth, both painfully aware of the other's presence, both pretending they'd never met me. The tension between them was invisible, but absolutely electric. Wang Hao grabbed my arm. "Let's go before the cafeteria runs out of chicken legs." I'd barely turned around when Lin Jiyue materialized in front of me like she'd teleported. A wisp of perfume, a strand of hair tucked behind her ear, 2 free drinks from the student council in her hands. Sweet smile at full power. "You're Sumu, right? Have a drink." "I'm Lin Jiyue. I was right behind you during military training." I took the drink. "Thanks." She didn't stop there. "What clubs are you joining?" "None." Soft rejection. Didn't faze her at all. She leaned in and dropped her voice to a whisper, playing her trump card. "That Porsche Panamera parked outside the boys' dorm. That's yours, isn't it?" I paused mid-sip and gave her a look. A very specific look. She thought she'd landed a killing blow. Her heart was racing. She was convinced she was the first person on campus to crack my identity. She had absolutely no idea that the mysterious rich man, who supposedly bought Chang'e, standing right in front of her, drinking free juice. 10 meters away, Chang'e watched Lin Jiyue press herself so close to me she was practically merging with my arm. Chang'e's fingers crushed the stack of flyers in her hand until the paper warped. "That scumbag. Am I not better than that flat woman?" Zhongling nudged her. "That freshman is kinda cute, isn't he? Was he trying to join our club?" Chang'e's mouth stayed sealed shut. Behind them, Banksia looked up from her chair and caught Chang'e's expression, that frozen mask hiding something boiling underneath. Combined with Zhao Zishuan's earlier accusations and the way Chang'e had protected me, a wild theory started forming in Banksia's head. She shoved it down immediately. "No way. Sumu doesn't seem like that kind of person." Lin Jiyue got what she wanted, my WeChat from the class group chat, and slipped away to a quiet corner. She pulled up those photos she'd secretly taken at Plaza 66. Chang'e walking behind a tall man whose face was blocked by the camera angle. She looked at the blurry silhouette, then thought about how Chang'e had been acting around me just now. She couldn't wait anymore. If she didn't act, her freshly discovered goldfish would get hooked by the fake innocent Chang'e. She posted the photos from a burner account. Within 30 minutes, screenshots were bouncing through every gossip group on campus. The rumor machine was running at full speed. Zhongling saw it first and slammed her phone face down on the table, trying to hide it from Chang'e. Too late. Fang Jintz had already sent a panicked voice message to their group chat. Chang'e opened her phone, saw the photo, saw the rumors. Her face went white, but not from anger about being called a kept woman. She was terrified that I would think SHE leaked the photos, that I'd think she was trying to trap me, that I'd remember saying I wasn't going to hang myself from one tree, and decide she was too much trouble. When did she start caring this much about what I thought? She texted me to meet her behind the gym. I found her in a quiet corner, wound so tight, she looked ready to shatter. "Sumu, let me explain. That photo, I didn't ask anyone to post it. I didn't know someone was taking pictures. I pulled out my phone, found the photo, and held it between us." She stopped breathing. I pointed at the blurry male silhouette. "Honestly, the photographer's angle is terrible. They didn't even capture your sugar daddy's handsome face properly." Her brain blue screened for 3 full seconds. Then a volcanic eruption of embarrassment and something she couldn't name blasted from her toes to her skull. Her face turned red from her ears to her neck. She looked away so fast, she almost gave herself whiplash. "Don't say that. Who's a sugar daddy? Her voice was smaller than a mosquito's sneeze. I looked at her, red-faced, ear tips practically smoking, lips pressed together with that faint bean paste tint. The Ice Queen was melting, and it was genuinely adorable. I stepped forward, put my hand on the wall next to her head. My body blocked her between me and the wall. I looked at those lips. Then I kissed her. Her eyes went wide. She pushed my shoulder, barely, like pressing a button with no batteries. Then she gave up and closed her eyes. The system chimed happily. First kiss developed. Progress 5%. Current 20%. But right when things were getting good, my hand brushed across those underwear marks on her skin and she gasped in pain. The spell broke. She pushed me away, this time for real. Because I'd never given her any title. No confession. No, be my girlfriend. I just walked up and kissed her like I owned the place. And the worst part? She'd kissed me back. She remembered me saying I'd bring other women to the penthouse. Her embarrassment curdled into fury. You're a jerk. She turned and fled through the gym's back door. Meanwhile, at the booth, Banksia was staring at the gossip photos on her phone. That blurry male silhouette in the picture matched my build almost perfectly. Changa had protected me earlier. Then both Changa and I disappeared at the same time. The math was adding up to a conclusion she didn't want to believe. The mysterious Portia sugar daddy was me. The same guy who called himself her uncle. The same guy who bought a gym and paid her mom's hospital bills. Her mother's words echoed. This kind doesn't come twice. Don't let the chance slip away. Banksia bit her lip, hands trembling. She picked up her cracked phone, opened my WeChat, and typed a message. She hit send. Her heart nearly exploded out of her throat. Changa practically fell out of the gym's back door and vanished around a corner. I know because I heard the footsteps, frantic, clumsy, like a baby deer escaping a wolf. Somewhere in that hallway, she was probably touching her lips and calling herself insane. Good times. I sat down on the gym bleachers, feeling pretty satisfied with life, when my phone buzzed. Mom. A 40-second voice message. I hit play, and her foghorn voice blasted out. Son, your dad secretly bought an 800 yuan fishing rod online. The sneaky idiot put the delivery address at Old Wong's convenience store next door. But Old Wong went to restock today, so the courier delivered it straight to our restaurant. I opened it right in front of your father's face. He's currently kneeling on the washboard in the living room. I almost burst out laughing right there on the bleachers. 1 minute, I'm pinning an Ice Queen against a wall for a kiss. The next, I'm getting live updates on Dad's disciplinary hearing. The whiplash was incredible. I could picture it perfectly. Dad on his knees, head hanging, his fishing gear gathering dust in the trunk again. A man defeated by his own shipping address. I replied, Mom, let him off. 800 for some happiness isn't bad. 2 seconds later, another voice bomb. Let him OFF? Only you would defend him. Anyway, you're in college now. That high school girl who dumped you because we're not rich enough. Forget her. Find a nice college girl. Mom's standards are low. As long as one female classmate is willing to talk to you, I'm happy. Classic mom. Her matchmaking strategy hadn't evolved since the Stone Age. I hit reply with zero hesitation. Don't worry. I'll bring a whole truckload home. Your restaurant won't have enough seats. She sent me an eye roll emoji. Fair. I pocketed my phone and exhaled. My brain, completely without permission, started flashing highlight reels. Chunga's snow-white back in that fitting room. Banksia's worn-out canvas bag with that tiny piece of white fabric. Banksia's stubborn, teary face refusing to cry in front of me. Two very different women, both currently sitting in the palm of my hand. Meanwhile, Changa had pressed herself against a wall in some hallway, trying to cool down her nuclear-powered blush when reality sucker punched her. Her little sister Xiaoxi's study trip, 500 yuan, deadline was tomorrow. She'd specifically told her sister to pay it. She called. Sis, I didn't use the money for the trip. Changa's heart dropped. What? I told you that money was for the trip. It's a chance to visit top high schools in the city. Silence on the other end. Then, broken and small, Auntie came to the house again. She said you must be doing dirty things in Shanghai. Mom got so angry she couldn't breathe. The village chief drove her to the clinic on his tricycle. The medicine cost 200. I used the trip money to pay for it. That parasitic aunt. Years ago, after Changa's father died in a mining accident, the aunt and uncle borrowed most of the compensation money and never returned a single cent. Now they had the audacity to come demanding more and slandering Chang'e on top of it. Chang'e's eyes went red. Her phone hand was shaking. She asked about her mom's condition, told her sister to take care of things, and hung up. Then she slid down the wall and crumpled into a ball, hugging her knees in the corner. All around her, the club fair was roaring with music and laughter. She could hear Zhongling calling for her from the anime club booth. She could see freshmen wandering past with flyers. She couldn't cry here. Not in public, because the eldest daughter of a poor family doesn't get the luxury of breaking down. 500 yuan. For some people, that's half a dinner at a hot pot restaurant. For me, it wouldn't buy half a tire on my Porsche. But for her, it was the difference between her sister getting an opportunity and being trapped in that village forever. 10 minutes ago, she'd been pressed against a wall being kissed by a guy with 200 million in the bank. Now she was crouching in a corner panicking over 500 yuan. The contrast was so brutal it could make you sick. She wiped her eyes, stood up, dusted off her dress, and shoved every fragile emotion to the bottom of her soul. Back to being the ice queen. Back to surviving. Me? I was sitting on the bleachers licking my lips. Still tasted like her bean paste lipstick. Sweet. But what I was actually thinking about wasn't the kiss. It was her behavior before it. When those rumors spread, she didn't go fight the gossip. Didn't try to clear her name publicly. Her first instinct was to sprint to me and beg me not to misunderstand. She was terrified I'd think she leaked the photos. That reaction told me everything. Without realizing it, she'd already placed herself in a position where she felt she needed my approval. She was reporting to me, explaining herself to me, treating me as the person whose opinion mattered most. I rubbed my chin. I was pretty sure I'd cracked her hidden attribute now. Under all that ice and pride, she had an old-fashioned, traditional soul, a deep-rooted instinct to devote herself to someone she'd chosen. Once she picked her person, she'd go all in, loyal, attentive, almost submissive in how thoroughly she'd commit. 20% development. First kiss secured. Excellent opening stats. But thinking about it more, she really did have it rough. Campus beauty with the face of a goddess, living on the edge of poverty, calculating whether she could afford milk tea. And lately she'd been doing unpaid labor as my unofficial life assistant, plus some serious workplace injuries, getting her entire back exposed in a fitting room, getting kissed against a wall with zero warning. In any normal company, that's a lawsuit and workers' comp. I'm not the kind of guy who takes advantage and pretends nothing happened. She'd earned something. I pulled out my phone, opened her WeChat, and typed a transfer. 10,000 yuan. In the memo line, I wrote, "Good work, little assistant. A bonus from your sugar daddy. Send." I sent the transfer. 10,000 yuan with the memo. "Good work, little assistant. A bonus from your sugar daddy." Then I sat back on the bleachers and waited for the fireworks. My phone buzzed almost immediately. A voice message from Chang'e, and oh boy, she sounded like a tea kettle about to explode. "Sumu, do you think having money makes you some kind of god? You think you can just buy someone's dignity?" The second it sent, I could tell she regretted it. That wasn't Ice Queen energy. That was girlfriend mad at her boyfriend energy. She was probably scrambling to hit unsend. Too slow. I fired back. "I can't buy your dignity, but I can buy your time." That life assistant position I offered, no more thinking about it. It's decided. This is your advance salary. Then, by the way, you fold blankets pretty well. My place is a mess from all those clothes we bought. Come organize it tonight after the fair ends. Zero room for negotiation. Total dictator move. Beautiful. I could practically feel her staring at her phone, vibrating with rage. But I knew what was really happening inside that head. She was reading, "You fold blankets pretty well," over and over, secretly pleased that I noticed such a tiny thing, while simultaneously cursing my entire bloodline. 2 minutes of silence. Then her reply came. The most conflicted sentence in the history of human communication. "I'll pay you back." "What time tonight?" Translation. I refused to be your kept woman, but also yes, I'll come to your penthouse, please pick me up. Her mouth said, "Scumbag," but her actions said, "What time?" I replied instantly, "Later tonight. I'll come get you." Now here's what I didn't see, but can absolutely imagine. Chang'e was leaning against a wall somewhere, her face so hot you could fry an egg on it, desperately constructing mental excuses. He's not a sugar daddy, he's a debt collector. I'm not his assistant, I'm just paying off interest. That kiss in the gym? Deleted from memory. Never happened. She cashed out the full 10,000. Immediately transferred 3,000 to her little sister. Go pay the study trip fee. Use the rest to buy yourself good food. Her sister Xiaoxi responded with a crying emoji. Where did you get this much money? Please tell me you didn't take out a loan. Chang'e's face was burning. She typed back with heroic composure. Relax. My part-time job paid early. The boss is a rich second-generation idiot. Tons of money, zero brains. He insisted on advancing my salary. The eye roll emoji she added at the end was doing heavy lifting. But Xiaoxi wasn't buying it. A voice message came through, small and scared. Sis, don't lie to me. Auntie is telling everyone in the village that you're being kept by a man in the city. Now you suddenly have all this money, and I'm really scared. That hit Chang'e like a hammer to the chest. She gripped her phone and typed furiously. Don't listen to that woman's garbage. I'm working as a legitimate life assistant. Just cleaning and laundry. Rich people have high standards, so they pay well. Take the money, sign up, and stop making mom worry. After sending that, she leaned against the cold tile wall and wanted to die of embarrassment. Legitimate life assistant, right? An assistant whose boss kissed her against a wall 10 minutes ago and whose roommates think she's being abused by a kinky billionaire because of underwear marks on her chest. Speaking of roommates, she suddenly remembered Zhongling and Fang Jin staring at those red lines yesterday, convinced some monster was hurting her. Now the gossip photos were everywhere too. They were probably imagining her in some 50 Shades dungeon situation. She got quietly indignant on my behalf. He's not violent at all, she muttered to herself. That kiss was actually kind of gentle. Then her brain went somewhere dangerous. Tonight she'd be at the penthouse. Alone. With me. No other people around. She'd seen those bags of women's clothes I bought for other guests. What if he wanted her to wear something weird while she cleaned? Her imagination was now doing full laps around a NASCAR track. She smacked herself on the head. Get it together, Mu Chang'e. One kiss, and you've lost your mind? She pulled out a calculator and started budgeting the remaining 7,000. 2,000 for mom's medical checkup. 500 for supplements. 1,000 for Xiaoxi's food and study materials. 3,500 into emergency savings. Nothing for herself. Not a single yuan. This kind of penny counting was carved into her bones. She checked her face temperature with the back of her hand, confirmed she looked like a functioning human being, and walked back to the anime club booth. Zhongling spotted her and nearly tackled her. Where did you go? You ran off like the building was on fire. Ice Queen mode. Activated. Just needed air? Bad mood. Zhongling pulled her close and whispered. The photos in the group chat. Is that your junior? Photos are photoshopped. Ignore them. Chang'e picked up registration forms and started sorting them with robotic efficiency. A flawless performance. Academy Award material. Zhongling's gossip flames sputtered out. Okay, just know we've got your back. If there's trouble, tell us. But as she leaned in to pat Chang'e's shoulder, her eyes caught something. Chang'e's lips, usually pale and dry from overwork. Right now, swollen, flushed, cherry red. The edges were puffy like she'd just aggressively eaten the spiciest instant noodles known to mankind. Zhongling's mouth opened. Her brain started buffering through several R-rated explanations. But one look at Chang'e's Arctic death stare face, and she swallowed every word. Chang'e felt those eyes on her lips and internally screamed. She spun around, shoved her face into the paperwork, and prayed for the earth to swallow her whole. Just get through today. Get through today, and then tonight go to his penthouse and clean, and absolutely do not think about what happened in that gym, and do not think about his stupid handsome face, and she groaned quietly into a stack of flyers. It was going to be a very long evening. The sun was going down, and the club fair was finally winding up. What I didn't know was that behind the anime club booth, a tiny detective was cracking my case wide open. Banksia was sitting on her little stool sorting registration forms when Chang'e walked past to pick up some flyers. A breeze blew by and carried something with it. My cologne. That cold cedar scent. The same one Banksia had smelled yesterday when I scooped her up at the yoga studio. She froze. She looked at Chang'e. Then, casual as anything, she dropped the question. That freshman who stood by our booth for a while. Do you know him? Chang'e didn't look up. Nope. Probably just someone signing up. Her voice was a tiny bit too fast, and the back of her neck was turning pink in real time. That was all the evidence Banksia needed. The pieces clicked together like Tetris blocks. Chang'e coming home yesterday with marks on her body, saying she'd stayed at a junior's place. Zhao Zixuan screaming about her being kept by a freshman. Chang'e disappearing for 20 minutes today and coming back with swollen lips. And now she smelled like MY cologne. One person connected everything. Me. The guy who bought a gym to save Banksia. The mysterious sugar daddy in Chang'e's rumors. Same human being. This world was disgustingly small. Banksia unlocked her cracked phone and opened my chat. Her fingers typed, "That photo going around campus today, the one with Chang'e. Is that you?" She hit send, and her palms started sweating. I was getting up from the bleachers when my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. The little punching bag was texting me and asking the one question most people would dance around for weeks. I grinned. This girl's observation skills were elite. And I don't do the whole deny everything act. I held down the voice button. "Yeah, that's me." 5 words. No explanation. No excuses. Like I was confirming what I had for lunch. Banksia pressed the phone to her ear and listened to those few seconds of audio. My voice was completely calm. A scandal rocking the entire campus, and I talked about it like it was weather. She put the phone down and stared at the voice message bar. The feeling inside her was strange and specific. Like she'd saved up her allowance for a whole month, walked up to the claw machine at the mall, and watched someone else grab the prettiest teddy bear right before her turn. She'd never held a boy's hand. She didn't know what heartbreak was supposed to feel like. She just knew her chest felt stuffed, and breathing was suddenly harder than it should be. She bit her lip. She was an expert at swallowing pain. Life had been slapping her around since birth, and she'd never once let it see her cry. This little ache was nothing. But then another thought pushed through. Chang'e's back yesterday. Those angry red marks. If Sumu was really the kind of guy who hurt women, Banksia couldn't stand watching someone else suffer. She'd taken enough beatings from life to develop a zero-tolerance policy for other people's pain. She started typing. Chang'e came back with injuries last time. Too direct. Delete. She tried again. And again. Her finger went up and down on that keyboard like a nervous woodpecker. Finally, she sent the most carefully wrapped question in messaging history. Chang'e had marks on her when she came back last time. That wasn't you, right? She couldn't even bring herself to use strong words. Just gentle circles around the real question. I was at the gym entrance when I read it. Immediately understood what she was worried about. This little punching bag, already drowning in her own problems, was spending her remaining emotional energy worrying about someone else. Unbelievable. I leaned against the glass door and typed back. "You think I'm the type who's into that kind of stuff? You really think that about your uncle? Bad girls get punished, you know." Then I added one more message. "Also, she's nowhere close to becoming your sister-in-law yet. You're worrying way too early." I pocketed my phone. On the other end, Banksia's brain went boom. The uncle thing was bad enough. Now he was throwing around sister-in-law? This man would climb any family tree to claim a higher branch. But her eyes kept gravitating back to 4 specific words. Nowhere close yet. Not together yet. That meant whatever was between me and Chang'e. It wasn't official. It wasn't sealed. The claw machine hadn't closed its grip yet. Her heart skipped. She immediately slapped herself mentally. "Sue Banksia, get a grip." He said, "Nowhere close. Not never gonna happen." And he definitely didn't say anything about you. "What exactly are you celebrating here?" She tried to type a response. "Don't call me that. Too aggressive, delete. Oh, too cold, delete." She scrolled through her entire emoji collection and finally sent a sticker of a grumpy bunny lying face down on the ground, pounding the floor with its tiny fists. I saw the bunny and laughed out loud in the middle of the field. This girl was absolutely adorable. Meanwhile, Zhongling and Fang Jins came back from the storage room covered in dust. Zhongling clapped her hands dramatically. "Done. I'm dead. We're going to the street food stalls tonight. No arguments." Fang Jins. "Absolutely yes." Chang'e was standing there with her bag, mentally calculating how to escape dinner early because she had a penthouse to get to tonight. But her roommates looked so excited she couldn't say no. She agreed through gritted teeth, already stressing about outfit changes and time management and the fact that somewhere across campus, a man with 200 million yuan was waiting for her to come fold his laundry. Now, I wasn't in that girl's dorm room, but the intelligence report I've pieced together is absolutely golden. 6:30 p.m. The roommates stumbled back from dinner. Zhongling and Fang Jins were tipsy on fruit wine and collapsed onto their beds. And Chang'e, the woman who treats mirrors like enemies, did something that probably caused a small earthquake in the fabric of reality. She opened her closet, voluntarily, and pulled out her most figure-flattering cream knit top. She changed, checked herself in the mirror, took down her ponytail, retied it higher and tighter, tucked in the loose strands, then opened a drawer, found a lipstick that was basically just a red stub at this point, and carefully applied it. Muchanga, putting on lipstick, to come clean my apartment. Fong Jins poked her head down from the top bunk. Going out? Part-time job. The two drunk roommates exchanged a look so loaded with meaning you could knit a sweater from it. Zhongling rocketed out of her blankets like a launched missile. Part-time job? You mean you're going to see the hot guy from the photos? She was barefoot, zero filter, full wine courage. Okay, sure, he plays a little rough, but his face. I saved that forum photo and zoomed in 3 times. That jawline, that side profile. If it were me, I'd volunteer for that part-time job too. Fong Jins was nodding so hard her neck might snap. Honestly, Changa, you're kind of selfish. We thought you were being abused. We almost called the police. Turns out you were a willing participant this whole time. Changa's face started burning. She turned away and pretended to organize her bag. You're overthinking it. It's really just work. Zhongling wrapped an arm around her shoulder and went full big sister mode. Look, we're all adults. Young people have energy, sure. A little excitement is fine. But protect yourself. Don't let any man go too far just because he's hot. Changa wanted to scream. She wanted to explain that the marks were from a brassiere that was too small, not from some kinky dungeon activity. But at this point, with photos plastered across every gossip group on campus, anything she said would just sound like a worse cover-up. Fong Jins rolled over and delivered the kill shot. Actually, maybe Changa is the one who likes it intense? I read this psychology post on social media. Girls who act cold in public are often the complete opposite in private. And guys love that contrast. The ice queen who becomes. A pillow flew across the room and nailed Fong Jins directly in the skull. Jins, shut up. Fong Jins yelped and retreated into her blanket cocoon. Then Zhongling did something truly unforgivable. She ran to her desk, opened a shopping app, typed 3 characters into the search bar, and shoved the phone screen directly into Changa's face. Want me to order you one of these? Changa squinted at the screen. It looked like toothpaste. What is this? Zhongling dropped her voice to expert advisor mode. I'm serious. There are tons of educational posts recommending this. If you two are playing that hard, having one of these can seriously reduce injury risk. Plus it's good for skin. He'll think you're thoughtful. Changa still didn't get it. She grabbed her own phone and searched the product name. 3 seconds of reading later, she understood exactly what she was looking at. Her face went from pink to red to volcanic. From her neck to her hairline. She was basically a human thermometer about to explode. Steam was practically coming out of her ears. She shoved Zhongling's phone away, grabbed her bag, and sprinted for the door. Zhongling, I'm going to kill you. From behind the closing door. Changa, stay safe. Buy an umbrella on the way. She slammed the door so hard the walls shook. Out in the stairwell, she collapsed against the cold tile wall, heart pounding, gasping for air. Her brain was a war zone. Zhongling's stupid grinning face. That product on the screen. The entire world convinced she was in some illicit arrangement. The worst part? She was only going over to fold clothes. She was literally a cleaning lady, and the whole campus thought she was starring in an adult film. Then an absolutely forbidden thought crossed her mind. What if Sumu actually did try something tonight? Would she, eventually, need that product? The thought terrified her so badly, she slapped her own forehead. The crack echoed through the empty stairwell. Muchanga, you are finished. She took a deep breath and headed downstairs. Now here's the part that breaks my heart a little, even though I only learned about it later. The whole time Zhongling and Fong Jins were cheering Changa on, hyping her up, helping her prepare for her date. Banksia was sitting silently at her desk. Not one word, just reorganizing books. Invisible as always. But inside, she was being shredded. Like watching someone use a dull pair of scissors on your chest, slowly, one snip at a time. She watched Changa, a girl who never cared about appearance, pick out clothes and apply lipstick for a man. Her man. Well, not her man. Not anybody's man. But the man she'd been thinking about nonstop since yesterday. Every joke, every excited squeal from the roommates, every piece of advice, each word landed on her nerves like a needle. She knew this feeling. Every guy in college has experienced it, sitting in the dorm listening to your roommate excitedly plan a love confession, while everyone helps brainstorm ideas, and the girl being pursued is the one you've been secretly crushing on. You can't object. You can't even be jealous. You just sit there pretending everything's fine while your stomach fills with acid. She sniffed quietly, stood up, packed a plastic bag with things for her mom's hospital stay, pulled on her faded gray jacket, and walked out without a word. She walked down the path toward the campus gate. And there, parked in a dark corner where the streetlights didn't reach, sat my black Panamera. Sleek, expensive, untouchable. Changa walked up to it, opened the passenger door, got in. The door closed with a soft thud. In the quiet campus night, that sound was deafening, and every single thud landed directly on Banksia's heart. What I didn't know was that while Changa was on her knees sorting my designer wardrobe, a full-blown military strategy session was happening in a hospital room across town. Banksia walked into her mom's room carrying a dented thermos, fake smile plastered on. She'd practiced it in the hallway, literally stretched her mouth corners with her fingers. Professional-grade sadness concealment. Her mom, Lu Yuzhen, glanced up from a phone drama, took one look, and immediately went nuclear. Fighting with that Sioux boy, Banksia nearly dropped the thermos on her foot. No, Mom, don't guess randomly. Her face was screaming, yes obviously, in neon letters while her mouth said, no. The world's worst liar. Lu Yuzhen didn't even blink. Not fighting? So he has a girlfriend? You saw him with another girl? 3 questions. 3 direct hits. Banksia's brain replayed the image of Changa sliding into my Panamera 30 minutes ago. Her chest flooded with vinegar. She stared at her shoes, fingers destroying her canvas bag strap, completely unable to speak. Silence equals confession. Lu Yuzhen sighed the sigh of a woman who's seen everything. Listen carefully. If you cut him off right now, delete his number, pretend you're strangers, the worst you'll get called is ungrateful. But if you wait until you're in too deep, extracting yourself will cost you your whole life. That cracked Banksia open. She spilled everything. The campus rumors about Changa and me. Changa's swollen lips after disappearing for 20 minutes. Changa getting dolled up tonight and climbing into my car. All of it came pouring out in one messy, sniffly avalanche. She finished with a pitiful little speech. I shouldn't even be thinking about this. He's so rich. Drives million-yuan cars. He already helped us so much. I should just focus on paying back the hospital money. Lu Yuzhen almost grabbed the steel lunchbox and cracked her daughter's skull open. Stop with that martyr nonsense. Answer me one question. She fixed Banksia with a stare that could melt steel. If starting right now, you delete his number, his WeChat, everything. And if you see him at school, you pretend he's invisible. Would that hurt? Banksia tried to imagine it. Never seeing that arrogant grin again. Never hearing him call himself Uncle. Her chest immediately filled with broken glass. Sharp, jagged, impossible to swallow or spit out. Tears started building. She couldn't lie and say no. But she didn't have the guts to shake her head either. She just kept picking at her poor bag strap. Lu Yuzhen gave her 0 recovery time. Question 2. Your pretty roommate got in his car tonight. What if they start dating? Weekly dates. Coming back to your dorm holding hands. Kissing goodnight right outside your building window. You'd stand there clapping and smiling. Banksia's 20-year-old emotional fortress collapsed in about 1.5 seconds. Her head dropped so low her chin was touching her collarbone. Shoulders shaking. Eyes completely red. Every ounce of jealousy and heartache she'd been hiding got ripped out and hung up to dry. Lu Yuzhen saw the opening and went for the kill. Are they officially together? Have they met parents? Did they get married? Banksia looked up, dazed. I don't think so. He's only a freshman. He's not even legal marriage age. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. He told me himself this afternoon. He said Changa is nowhere close to becoming my sister-in-law. Lu Yuzhen slapped her own thigh so hard the hospital bed screeched. Then it's fair game. No marriage certificate means everyone competes on skill. The loser is the other woman, not you. She took a breath. He's a single young man right now. You're not stealing, you're not skeeting. Why should you forfeit before the other girl even makes a move? Banksia stared at her bedridden, 4-dripping mother who was suddenly radiating the tactical energy of a 5-star general. She was seriously questioning reality. Had Mom been secretly binge-watching those 1 cent per episode CEO romance dramas? How else could she deliver these lines with such conviction? Lu Yuzhen didn't care about the bewildered staring. She was on a mission. Even without your pretty roommate, a man like him, rich, handsome, generous, when has he ever been short on girls throwing themselves at him? If you don't fight, even if you got him first, some fiercer woman would eventually kick you out anyway. Each sentence was a slap that knocked Banksia's brain cells back into formation. She was right. Even without Chang'e, there'd always be a Zhang Chang'e, Li Chang'e, Wang Chang'e. Standing in the shadows watching from a distance would get her absolutely nothing. Lu Yuzhen saw the retreat fading from her daughter's eyes and shifted to phase 2, tactical instruction. To beat those fancy girls, you need to go unconventional. She raised 2 bony fingers like a military strategist. Capture his stomach and his body. Banksia almost launched off her plastic stool into orbit. Her face went from red to purple. "Mom, what are you saying? What are you thinking?" Lu Yuzhen rolled her eyes so hard they almost fell out. "I meant your yoga training. That therapeutic massage stuff you learned. Men come home exhausted. You serve him hot fish soup and then work on his shoulders and neck. That kind of hands-on comfort beats any girl begging for designer bags by 100 times." Banksia sat frozen as her brain recalibrated. Oh, massage. Shoulders. That actually made perfect sense. She couldn't compete with luxury gifts, but she could offer something physical that nobody else could. At 10:30 p.m., the hospital hallway was half dark. Banksia sat on a bench outside the room, face buried in her hands for 60 seconds of intense internal warfare. Then she opened my chat. Thumbs hovering. Heart hammering. She typed, "Are you free sometime soon? I just learned a shoulder and neck therapy massage technique. I want to practice on you. Is that okay?" She didn't even check for typos. Eyes squeezed shut. Hit send. Then prayed to every deity in existence that I wouldn't think she was a midnight lunatic. And at that exact moment, in the penthouse at Thompson Riviera, I was lounging on my Italian leather sofa. My phone buzzed on the crystal coffee table. I didn't even glance at it, because the view in front of me was much more interesting. Chang'e was kneeling on the Persian carpet in her cream knit top, cheeks burning red, carefully folding and sorting my clothes like a devoted little housewife. The way she bent forward made that tight knitwear stretch in ways that deserved a Nobel Prize in physics. Life was good. The Panamera slid into the underground garage like a sleeping dragon returning to its cave. Engine off. Silence. Just 2 people breathing in the dark. I got out and looked over at the passenger side. Chang'e was slowly undoing her seatbelt like she was defusing a bomb. The black strap slid down from her collarbone, grazing that strip of neck that glowed white enough to light a room. She had zero awareness of how lethal that looked. I said nothing, just smiled. She got out and immediately put a full meter of distance between us, walking perfectly straight, spine rigid, steps measured, but her fingers kept tugging the bottom of her knit top. Pull, release, pull, release. A nervous habit she didn't know she had. "How many times now?" I asked, walking toward the elevator. Her steps stuttered. "How many times what? You've been to my place. This is what, the 3rd time? Still this nervous?" Her ear tips went pink. The blush bled down into her cheeks like watercolor. "Who's nervous?" Her voice was ice. Her walking speed increased by 30%. Classic Chang'e contradiction. In the elevator, she pressed herself into the farthest corner like I was radioactive. The cold white light turned her into living porcelain. That skin was genuinely unreal. Not foundation white. Born with it white. So pale you could see blue veins under her collarbone. I leaned against the opposite railing and glanced at her. Just once. Her shoulder blades instantly locked up like someone had shoved an iron rod down her spine. "What are you looking at? Thinking about something?" "What?" "Whether that top is one size too small." She looked down at herself. The cream knit was indeed quite fitted. Her neck and collarbone lines were carved out like a sculpture. Her face combusted. "It's not small. This is just how this style fits, I said, then added, "Looks good." She squeezed her fist so hard her nails dug into her palm. I could see her fighting the urge to face the wall. Then the universe decided to get dramatic. A horrific metallic screech ripped through the elevator. The whole box started shaking violently. The lights flickered twice, popped with a dull explosion, and everything went completely black. I was momentarily surprised, not scared, just genuinely shocked that Thompson Riviera, the most expensive address in Shanghai, could have an elevator malfunction. 15 years of luxury aging, apparently. Even rich buildings get old. Chang'e yelped, a short, sharp sound of pure terror. She lost her footing in the sudden lurch and pitched forward, hands flailing blindly for something to grab. I reached out in the darkness and caught her waist, pulled her into my chest. Done. Safe. She was trembling against me like a leaf in a storm. Through that thin knit top, I could feel her heart jackhammering at approximately 9,000 beats per minute. I held her with one arm and calmly fished out my phone with the other, turned on the flashlight, wedged it into the railing, even had a moment to wonder if I could build a system for emotional damages. I lowered my head until my breath hit her ear. A grown woman scared of the dark? She bit her lip so hard it went white. Her eyelashes were vibrating like panicked butterflies. Her mouth stayed sealed shut, but her body was honest. She burrowed deeper into my chest like she was trying to climb inside my ribcage. I hit the emergency button. Security confirmed. Maintenance crew was working on it. 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, the ventilation was dead. Temperature climbing. The tiny sealed space turned our situation into a pressure cooker of tension. My fingers were idly tracing circles on her waist because, well, why not? Chang'e finally noticed she was wrapped around me like an octopus on a rock. She shoved against my chest trying to retreat. I didn't let go. Actually tightened my grip slightly, just enough to eliminate her escape route entirely. Don't squirm. If the elevator shakes again and you fall, that's a workplace injury, and I'd have to pay for it. She looked up at me, face burning, eyes furious. Can you please be serious right now? I leaned close to her ear. I am serious. You're my paid assistant. If you get hurt on the job, it's my liability. Then, around minute 8, the elevator suddenly dropped another half floor with a violent jolt. Chang'e screamed and abandoned all pretense of dignity. She slammed into me chest first with zero gap remaining between us. Full body contact. Completely sealed. Not a molecule of air between her front and mine. The physics of this impact caused my hand, which had been behaving itself on her waist, to slide downward and land on a region of extraordinary softness and structural integrity. The elasticity was remarkable. As a completely healthy adult male, I did not immediately remove my hand. Instead, I conducted a brief and honest evaluation. Research purposes. 3 seconds of silence. Just breathing. Then, from somewhere against my chest, a tiny trembling voice. Your hand. I didn't move it. Actually adjusted my grip slightly upward. She went rigid as a wooden plank. Then came the most adorable sound I'd heard in my entire life. A whimpering, teary little plea from a cornered kitten. You. Don't squeeze. The system went absolutely wild. Ding. Target Mu Chang'e. Massive affection surge. Development 10%. Total 30%. Major milestone triggered. Hidden attribute unlocked. Husband AS absolute authority. Explanation. Target lost her father young. Grew up without a strong male protector. Deep subconscious craves a dominant male figure who can shield her from everything. Once she mentally identifies a man as her chosen pillar, she activates extreme loyalty, devotion, and obedience far beyond normal levels. Simple version. Once she picks her man, she follows him through anything. Wild horses couldn't drag her away. I stood there in the dark elevator, one hand still resting where it definitely shouldn't be, reading blue holographic text floating in. My vision and thought. So that's the hidden attribute. The Ice Queen exterior was just armor built by a fatherless girl who'd been fighting alone her whole life. Underneath it all, she wasn't looking for an equal partner. She was looking for a fortress, someone strong enough that she could finally stop being strong. And I'd just passed whatever invisible checkpoint her subconscious had set up. 30%. Hidden trait unlocked. We were cooking. The system panel was floating in front of my eyes, spelling it out plain as day. Husband as absolute authority. This Ice Queen, the girl who made rich boys' flowers wilt with a single glare, secretly wanted nothing more than a man strong enough to take the wheel completely. Once she locked onto her target, she'd transform into the most devoted wife from an ancient dynasty. Couldn't drag her away with a truck. I smiled in the dark. This hidden attribute was even better than I'd hoped. The lights flickered back on. The elevator hummed back to life. Chang'e launched herself out of my arms like a startled cat whose tail got stepped on, frantically smoothing out every wrinkle I'd put in her clothes. My phone exploded with buzzing. Some woman named Shunzi, apparently the new dedicated property manager for the penthouse floor, calling to grovel about the elevator malfunction with the most carefully rehearsed apology speech I'd ever heard. "We sincerely apologize for the oversight, Mr. Su. I'd like to bring a small gift and apologize in person. I was way too busy watching Changa's face cycle through 17 shades of red to care about property management politics. Deal with it tomorrow. Nobody knocks on my door tonight." Click. The elevator dinged open. Changa practically flew out like someone had fired her from a cannon. She needed something, anything, to keep her hands busy and her brain from replaying the last 10 minutes. She made it about 2 steps toward the shoe cabinet before I kicked the front door shut behind us, grabbed her, spun her around, and pinned her against the marble wall. One hand under her chin, head down, lips on hers. No warning, no asking, no mercy. She raised her fists and thumped my chest twice. The resistance of an angry butterfly. Within 15 seconds her legs were shaking so badly she had to grab fistfuls of my shirt hem just to stay vertical. She was hanging on like a drowning person clutching driftwood while I absolutely demolished whatever remained of her composure. The temperature in the entryway skyrocketed. My free hand found the bottom edge of her cheap, slightly pilled knit top and slipped underneath. Fingers traveled up the smooth terrain of her back, found the row of metal clasps, and flicked them open with one practiced motion. A quiet sound of fabric releasing. The last line of defense gone. The knit top, suddenly unsupported, slid down her rounded shoulders to her elbows. An avalanche of white. I was ready to continue this very thorough investigation when my eyes stopped mid-descent. Under the warm glow of the entryway sensor light, across skin that should have been flawless porcelain, there were bruises. Dark, ugly, purple-red welts running from her shoulders down past her collarbone. The underwear marks. Still there. Still angry. Every ounce of playful heat in my eyes evaporated instantly. Something I didn't expect rose up instead, genuine irritation. Not at her. At the situation. At the fact that this girl had been walking around in pain all day, smiling through it, pretending everything was fine, because she couldn't afford underwear that actually fit. I stepped back, looked at her, face flushed from oxygen deprivation, eyes glistening, completely lost and confused about why I'd suddenly stopped. I didn't explain, just grabbed her wrist, pulled her to the living room sofa, and pushed her shoulders down until she sat. Then I went to the storage room, dug through the medical kit until I found a tube of bruise ointment, and came back. I squeezed some onto my finger. Didn't crack a single joke. Just leaned in close and started carefully applying it to those angry marks. The ointment was freezing cold. My fingers were warm. The contrast made her flinch. Her thin shoulders trembled. I lightened my touch even more, working the medicine in small circles, letting body heat push it into the skin. The problem was that some of those marks traced along her collarbone and continued downward toward territory that required very careful navigation. My calloused fingertips inevitably brushed the edge of a zone that sent a visible electric current through her entire body. She bit her lip hard. Those wet, shimmering eyes stared straight at me while I worked. Then she asked the question she'd been choking on all night. Her voice came out cracked and small. "Do you think I'm the kind of woman who lets anyone touch her as long as they pay?" I didn't even look up. Instead, I curled my medicine-smeared finger and flicked her right in the middle of her forehead. A perfect forehead flick. Thonk. Crystal clear in the silent living room. She slapped both hands over her forehead, and the tears she'd been barely holding back almost broke free from the sheer surprise pain. I grabbed a wet wipe from the coffee table and slowly cleaned the ointment off my hands. Looked at her, forehead clutched, eyes overflowing, the most pathetically adorable expression known to humankind. "Stop writing yourself into some tragic drama. If I actually thought you were easy, you wouldn't be sitting on this couch getting medical treatment right now. You'd be on your knees on that carpet working." She froze. Hand still on her forehead. Brain buffering. That sentence was crude, unfiltered, completely inappropriate by any normal standard of human communication. And it was exactly what she needed to hear. Because buried in that rough, ridiculous, zero-elegance statement was a truth so blunt it couldn't be faked. I didn't see her as cheap. I didn't see her as a transaction. If I did, tonight would look very different. She watched me put the medical kit away. Her eyes were completely red now. But the tears weren't from sadness or the forehead flick. For the first time in her life, Someone had given her something she'd never known she was starving for. Safety. The feeling of a wall at her back that wasn't cold marble, but warm and solid and completely unshakable. A man who could pin her against a wall 1 minute and gently apply medicine to her bruises the next. Who could be crude and gentle in the same breath without either one being fake. She sat on that sofa, holding her stinging forehead, and felt her last inner wall quietly crumble to dust. Changa practically launched herself off the sofa and started stress cleaning. Grabbed my clothes off the Persian carpet, knelt down, and began smoothing every wrinkle with surgical precision. Full traditional housewife mode activated. The hidden attribute was running at maximum power, and I hadn't even asked her to do anything. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. I glanced at it lazily. Banksia, are you free soon? I just learned a shoulder massage technique. Want to be my practice dummy? I raised an eyebrow. The little punching bag was making moves at midnight. Her mom's coaching was working fast. I didn't reply, though. The woman currently kneeling on my carpet was higher priority. I walked over, bent down behind Changa, wrapped both arms around her waist, and pulled her into my chest. Her hands froze mid-fold, shirt suspended in the air. My chest was pressed flat against her back. She could feel my heartbeat. I could feel hers going absolutely berserk. Then the dam broke. She started crying. Not delicate, pretty crying. Big, heavy, ugly cry, tears soaking into my carpet. And she started talking. Everything came flooding out. Her dad dying when she was little. Her mom's constant illness. The medications. The inability to work. How she'd been grinding through part-time jobs since she was old enough to hold a mop. Her parasitic aunt and uncle who'd stolen her father's accident compensation and never returned a penny, who kept showing up to harass her family, who were trying to steal the old house's land. That's why I took that companion app job that night, she said, voice cracking. We literally had nothing left. She looked up at me, searching my face for what? Pity? Disgust? Judgment? I didn't give her any of that. No dramatic speeches. No promises about the future. I just put my hand on her head and ruffled her hair like she was a stressed-out puppy. That's it. That's what's been eating you. My voice was deliberately casual, like she'd just told me the cafeteria ran out of rice. I tilted her chin up with one finger. Your family drama doesn't even register on my radar. Sky falls down. Your sugar daddy's standing right here holding it up. The stupidest, most inappropriate, most grammatically offensive sentence I could have possibly constructed. And it worked better than 1,000 love poems. She looked up at me with red, soaking eyes, and kissed me. She kissed me. First time she'd ever initiated. A salty, tear-flavored, completely surrendered kiss. I grabbed the back of her head and deepened it because when the ice queen finally melts, you don't waste the moment. We rolled across the Persian carpet. Temperature climbing dangerously. My hand was already reaching for the bottom of her knit top when, ring, ring, ring. The most violently mood-destroying phone call in the history of telecommunications. Changa scrambled out of my arms like a grenade went off. It was her sister Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi never calls late. Never. Changa answered with shaking hands. Jess, Xiaoxi was screaming through sobs. Come home. Mom collapsed. Changa's body went limp. She crumpled onto the carpet like someone had cut her strings. What happened? She just went to the doctor. Xiaoxi was crying so hard she could barely breathe. It's Auntie. Mom was happy about the 3,000 you sent. But Annie found out, came over, started telling everyone in the village that you're being kept by a man in Shanghai, that you're selling yourself for dirty money. Mom heard it, and her blood pressure spiked. She fainted. The neighbors took her to the township clinic. Changa's world started spinning. She hung up without saying goodbye and started frantically searching for train tickets on her cracked phone. Every late-night departure was grayed out. No trains. No buses. No way home. I watched her falling apart. Took the phone out of her trembling hands. She looked up at me with the most helpless eyes I'd ever seen on a human being. I held her face in both hands. Wiped the tears with my thumbs. Don't panic. Let's go see what's happening first. I'll drive you. She found one tiny sliver of rationality left in her brain. Tomorrow was Monday. She had classes. Missing without permission could destroy her scholarship application. She needed to call her class advisor, the infamous MS. Su Man. She dialed with shaking fingers. The phone rang for over a minute before a voice dripping with sleep fury picked up. Changa, do you have any idea what time it is? This better be good. Changa sniffled and tried to steady her voice. Miss Su, There's a family emergency. My mom is in the hospital. I need a few days off. That's when I grabbed my car keys from the table. The metallic jingle traveled straight through the phone speaker. Muchanga, is there a man with you? Suman's tone flipped instantly from sleepy to prosecutorial. The school has rules about staying out overnight. You're out with a man in the middle of the night, and now you're fabricating excuses to skip class? Do you want to be publicly disciplined? Changa stood there getting verbally shredded, too shocked and too broken to fight back. Not a single word came out. I watched her face crumble one more degree. That was enough. I took the phone. Who do you think you are, throwing your weight around? Dead silence on the other end. This is Sumu. Freshman, business school. Save your rules. I don't care. Suman sputtered. Sumu? You're out with a female student overnight. This means disciplinary action for both of you. I laughed. Cold, short, zero amusement. Discipline me. Report me. Put it all on MY record. I don't give a damn. I leaned into the phone for the finale. Right now we're trying to save someone's life. Whether you approve this leave or not, we're going. I hung up on her mid-breath, grabbed a long coat, and threw it at Changa. Put it on. We're leaving. Now. I pulled her up and marched out the door. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Banksia was sitting alone on a cold plastic bench, staring at her phone like it owed her money. 30 minutes since she'd sent that massage invitation. My chat showed zero activity. The screen's pale glow lit up the saddest face in Shanghai. She told herself Mom's strategy wasn't foolproof after all. A guy like me probably had zero interest in midnight texts from a nobody. I was probably out with Changa right now. She shoved the phone into her bag, buried her face in her knees, and curled up in that empty hospital corridor like a wounded animal licking its wounds in the dark. She had no idea I wasn't ignoring her. I was doing 160 kilometers per hour on a highway, racing toward a village 400 kilometers away. My Panamera was tearing through the night like a black comet. Changa was curled up in the passenger seat wearing my oversized coat, looking like a stray cat that got caught in a monsoon. She'd stopped crying but hadn't stopped trembling. I reached into the center console, grabbed some tissues, and tossed them on her lap. Wipe your face. When we get to your village, if your aunt sees you looking like this, she'll know you're easy prey. Changa dabbed her eyes. Thank you. Too early for that. I just cursed out our class advisor on the phone. We'll probably both need to write apology letters when we get back. She shook her head. Right now, school discipline ranked somewhere between irrelevant and who cares? Even expulsion wouldn't have stopped her tonight. Back in the faculty apartments, Sue Man was fuming in bed, chest heaving, plotting how to report us both to the academic office. She had no idea what was coming her way. But that's a problem for future me. On the highway, I kept my speed steady and my voice casual. Tell me about this, aunt. Changa was quiet for a few seconds. Then it all came out. Her dad, Mu Jiangwo, died in a mining accident 6 years ago. She was 15. Her sister was 12. The mine paid out 100,000 yuan in compensation. Her mom used it to clear debts and save the rest for tuition. Then her uncle and aunt showed up claiming her dad had borrowed 50,000 from them, demanded the compensation money. Did he actually borrow it? Never. Dad used to give them red envelopes every new year. He never took a cent from them. But the aunt didn't care about facts. She stood at the village entrance telling everyone that Changa's mom had stolen their money, that a widow and 2 orphans were bullying honest people. Then they spotted the real prize, the family's land. Half an acre of residential plot, front and backyard combined. When rumors started about a new road possibly cutting through the village, that land could be worth 300,000 or 400,000 in demolition compensation. That's when the aunt went completely feral. She petitioned the village committee claiming the land should be split between both brothers' families. When that failed, she started a harassment campaign. Ripped out every vegetable Changa's mom had planted in the yard, roots and all. Pulled clean bedsheets off the clothesline and threw them in mud puddles. Stood under the village's old tree on holidays, loudly telling anyone who'd listened that Changa's family was cursed and had killed their own husband with bad luck.